right. Welcome on in to another episode, the first episode of the week of DCU Daily and Also Curious. We did have some massive technical difficulties, and I put them in air quotes because they weren't like, well, you know, they could have been pretty bad. But hey, you know, we troubleshot the problem, we fixed it, but here we are. You guys aren't here to listen to our technical issues. You're here to listen to all the DC news we've got for you. So we will get into that. Today we have to talk about some Superman news. Of course, as always, you have to talk about Superman news. Duh. That's what we're here for. I saw in the thumbnail, early screening tickets. We know when they're dropping tomorrow. So we'll get into that. I'm sure you might have come across it. We'll talk a little bit more about other Superman promotional, marketing stuff that's been going on over the weekend. I came across a bunch of stuff. We'll get into that. We have some more news from the Hollywood Reporter, a little more regarding what DC Studios plans might be for San Diego Comic-Con and what they might not be in terms of they're only going to be there for very specific projects. So we'll talk about that. Of course, there was a new Ironheart trailer that dropped today from Marvel, so we're going to talk about that show. I mean, the trailer, I wasn't impressed with it, but we have Bridget on tonight to talk about it, so we'll get into that. We also have to look at the weekend box office. Ballerina was going into the weekend looking at maybe making somewhere around $30-odd million. Did it get there? We will talk about that. Of course, also Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, and Lilo and Stitch still going strong. And we have some news regarding the Legend of Zelda movie in 2027. Well, remember it was going up against Godzilla x Kong? Well, it may not be anymore. So we will talk about that and so much more. To do that, let's get the show started.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne. I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chords.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the world needs now.
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Well, I left out the fact that Warner Brothers Discovery is cutting themselves in half. They're splitting. I didn't realize that was going to happen as quickly because they've been talking about it for a while. Obviously, now some of the other moves like, calling Max once again HBO Max, it's starting to make sense. So we'll talk about that as well. Of course, we have all the other news I mentioned before the intro, but to do that and so much more today, well, I've got with me Bridget. How are you doing today, Bridget? How was your weekend, and what are you looking forward to today on the show?
Hey, I almost wanted to call you John, Dan.
So I'll probably call you Liz or John at some point, so it's gonna happen.
Okay, cool. Honestly, I feel like I've been in a haze. I can't even tell you what I did this weekend. I'm just already ready for the next weekend, so I'm trying to get through the week on this Monday. But hey, we're here. It's late, and we're gonna party. So I'm here.
Well,
for
I
it.
don't know about partying. I guess that depends on how excited we are about any of the news that we're getting into.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we will party tomorrow because tomorrow by this time when we're doing the show, I will have my early Superman screening tickets. So that's for sure. But for
okay.
now.
Yeah.
The anticipation builds, but hey, you know what? There's some anticipation building. Well, it's a relative term in this case. And that I'm talking about, of course, Ironheart, the first not the first trailer, actually. This is I guess you could call it maybe the first full trailer, because we did get a trailer. Maybe you could call the last one more of a teaser trailer. This one is more of like a proper story trailer. So we have a new trailer for Ironheart, the TV show that's going to be coming out on Disney Plus. Now we know that they're going to be doing there's only 6 episodes. They're going to do a 3-episode premiere, and as far as I'm aware, they're dropping the rest of the 3 episodes the following week. So unless that's changed, you guys let me know if they're doing like a 1 episode a week after that. But this is going to be like a blink and you miss it show is here and gone, and I don't know if that really exudes confidence on the part of Marvel in the show. But to me, this trailer didn't quite impress me. Although how it's mixing like magic, like a little bit like the Doctor Strange aspect with like Tony Stark tech.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like Marvel avoided doing that a lot, and the closest they got to it was like in the first Thor movie, where it's like, you know, what you look at as science, or like what you guys think is magic, whatever Thor said. I don't remember the exact dialogue. We like, you know, to us is science. So like the Asgardians, obviously, you know, to them, what humans thought was magic essentially, the Asgardians thought of as science. You know, any technology that is sufficiently advanced enough may appear as magic to those who are more primitive. Like there's, you know, that's the quote, I think, something like that. But anyway, Bridget, what did you think about the trailer? Were you impressed by it? I don't know how much of the previous marketing materials, including I guess the first trailer or the teaser trailer for the show, that you have seen. So this might have been your first glimpse at the show. In which case, I just want to know. I mean, June 24th. It's what, like, I'm doing the math in my head. Somebody tell me. It's like 2.5 weeks, maybe more or less. So it's not that far away. But what did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, this was my first time watching it, seeing the trailer, and at first I was, you know, the first half I was like, okay, it did interest me a bit, but I don't know. It also, towards the end of the whole, I just kind of got the impression that I don't know, it just seemed to fall a little bit flat, in my opinion. I don't know why, but at the very end, and I looked up this actor because I've recognized him in stuff before, but I think his name is Alden Ehrenreich, and I think he plays a character called Joe.
Alden Ehrenreich? Yeah.
Yes, I said his name wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, he was Han Solo in that Solo movie. Remember?
That's
Like he
right,
was the young Han Solo. I mean, he's done other stuff. That's the one that most people probably know him as.
I think I first saw him in Beautiful Creatures. So I was like, oh, I know. Yeah, that's right. And great actor, but I don't know. In it, when he's like, you know, there's a hero in you, it just seems so lackluster. I don't know. It was just a little too maybe ho-hum. I didn't know what, I can't put my finger on it. I just wasn't that thrilled with the trailer overall.
Yeah. Again, I think my biggest concern is like mixing magic and technology. And here's the thing. If this was a movie being directed by Kenneth Branagh and it was, I don't know, like, I don't care if it was a Thor movie or just somebody with the caliber where I trust the director, the storyteller. I mean, they have some good actors in this between Anthony Ramos and you know, Dominique Thorne, I think, is a good actress too. I think she's probably not been put in the best position to succeed as Ironheart. This show was also, I think, largely filmed before the second Black Panther movie. So they've been sitting on this for a while, which is kind of interesting. Then I think when Black Panther 2 came out, I was like, really did not need Riri Williams in there. She almost made things worse in every which way in that movie. And then somehow ended up becoming like the reason for the two factions of the Wakandans and Lanteans almost going to war.
Yeah,
it just felt weird, like it like forced in some ways. But I mean, anyway, I digress. Like, as far as this show goes, Bridget, like, would you, based on the trailer that you have seen now, go check this out when it drops on Disney Plus? They're gonna give you 3 episodes at once, which is literally half the show. So I guess even if you just sign up for a Disney Plus trial, you can get half the show. But would you watch it when it does come out?
Based off the trailer, something just tells me it feels like this. I don't know. I just get this feeling that the stakes they don't seem high enough for some reason. I just feel like what's going on doesn't really excite me. I could always, of course, watch at least the first episode. I feel like that's, you know, not too much commitment, and just see where it goes from there. But just based off the trailer, I don't know. It's not pushing me, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. We do have a bunch of people in the chat. Not a bunch. We've got all the folks in the chat today. So let me just take a moment here, and we got to say hello to everybody. I've been saying hello in the chat, but we got to shout you guys out because you are watching, and it is always fun to have you guys on with us live. So let's get into it, shall we? We got many names to give a shout out to. We got, of course, the very first person in the chat today was Caleb Honka Honka. Then we got, well, Caleb again. Sorry, that's twice. But Manos Time, hello everybody. Steven, hello guys. Enterprising, hey folks, if you're in LA, be safe. Yes, absolutely. Please be safe, and hopefully you're taking all the precautions, and then of course, you know, using your best judgment wherever you are, especially if you're around any of the areas affected by the protests and you know, the police action that is in association with that. Of course, Fiona's in the chat. Hello Hello, how are you doing? And I think she's chilling right now before bedtime. Jalen is here. I can see your halo, baby. Baby, I'm not gonna sing it, but I got the reference. How's it going, fellow nerds? Well, Jalen is going good for me. I don't know if Bridget considers herself a fellow nerd, but the rest of you guys,
I'm a closeted nerd.
There you go. There we go. That's why you're here. But Elite Easy is here as well. Hi, Elite Easy. Everybody's saying hello to everybody else. What am I forgetting, Caleb? What is the important news that I'm forgetting? You remind me, please, because I think I talked about a lot of stuff that I'll get into a little bit later. And yes, Enterprising, we will talk about Warner Brothers Discovery and how Universal literally just did the same thing. In fact, I'm going to use that to reference and provide some context. Yeah, you know what, Chris? We will talk about, okay, not a shocker and it's not a flop, but we will talk about it. We will get into that as well. We're doing that in a little bit. Caleb responding to that in the chat. But Enterprising with a comment on Ironheart saying it has the potential to be more than what's been shown. You know what? That is my one silver lining, right? Because, Bridget, if there is one thing about the show that I think it's something worth looking forward to, this trailer brought back some of the Mephisto rumors, on the internet. So I guess if you are, somebody who has been looking forward to seeing Mephisto, introduced in the MCU, finally, after, I don't know, like, for instance, the very first Disney Plus show, WandaVision, which is now like several years old, then yeah, maybe you're looking forward to the show. Also, like, if your bar is so low, I mean, the only way the direction this show can go is up, right?
That's
like
true.
it
Could be a
people
huge
expect it to be
surprise.
bad, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I don't think a lot of people have very high hopes for this. So, and the only thing I wish was that Marvel did not just dump it like over the course of like within a month's time. It's gonna be here and then it's gonna be gone. And then the marketing for this has also really not been all that, promising. Like, a lot of this stuff has been happening recently, and I get it, for a TV show you don't want to market it like 2-3 months in advance like a movie. But even then, I mean, like, it just feels like they started marketing it like 2 days ago. Not that's an exaggeration, but it does feel like that a little bit. I mean, Jalen agrees. He says, I'm just not feeling this marketing or lack thereof. That's exactly what I'm saying. I don't think that's very promising, to say the least. Kevin, I do see your comment about David Zaslav. We will talk about that in a little bit. And then Jalen, again, yeah, the trailer was mid at best. I think between yourself, Bridget, and I, we're kind of in the same situation. Bass Reeves, hello, saying, while it's closed, well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to pay for this if you already have Disney Plus, but if you don't have Disney Plus, then sure. I mean, I mean, maybe you could sign up for a trial and be pleasantly surprised. What's the worst that can happen? You don't like it, you just cancel your trial like that. I guess I'm saying give it a shot, and if you hate it, you hate it. Like, it's totally fine. I mean, Bridget, what do you think? Would you give it a shot?
I mean, yeah,
Disney Plus.
Yeah, I mean, like, if I'm lounging around on a weekday night, not a lot to do, maybe I'll start it, give it 20 minutes and see how it feels. But again, I agree with the marketing. It kind of feels like, well, if they don't seem to care that much, why should I care that much? And that's the sad thing. I mean, hopefully it is more than it seems, but right now it's hard to get it very interested. Yeah, to be honest.
I mean, look at the chat. Like, Tony says, I have no interest. Swack fan is here. Hello. He says, hi, everyone. Honestly, I have no interest in Ironheart. Exactly. I mean, we've been talking about how Disney hasn't done much, like Marvel hasn't done much to draw people's interest. And I mean, look. Wow. Okay. But Jalen Harris saying, how the hell does she relate to Doomsday? Well, that's the thing, right? Like, I think when we were in that build up to Endgame, everybody was like, literally, okay, why should I go watch this thing? Is it going to be connected to Endgame? And we had those connections in Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and the Wasp, but even though, Ant-Man and the Wasp was very loosely connected, only the post-credit sequence, but people went to see it because they were promised that it's going to have a connection. Captain Marvel made $1 billion in part because it was like meant to be must-watch viewing for Endgame, which we know, like, Captain Marvel figured heavily into the movie. So I think right now, as we get into towards Doomsday and Secret Wars, everybody and anyone who's interested in those movies and in any Marvel movie or TV show or anything Marvel related, they're like, how does this connect to those big Avengers movies? To the point where even Spider-Man, the upcoming Spider-Man movie, people are going to be wondering, how does this tie in to the next Avengers movie? Because, like, the Spider-Man movies are $1 billion franchise on their own, but people want to know because everybody cares about that. And honestly, to that end, yeah, I don't know. Steven is here saying Bridget looks amazing today. Dan, just to mention.
Yes, Steven.
Of course, thank you for the compliment there. Bass Reeves did see Ballerina, so he has some notes on that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Enterprising saying it's also not a good look when it comes to Young Avengers potential being a thing. Potentially, yeah, I mean, well, they will have some of those characters in the new Avengers movies, but as far as, I mean, you'd imagine Riri Williams would be one of those Young Avengers, aka champions, so... by the way, this hood situation looks so tacky. I just don't know how they're gonna sell it. Like, Anthony Ramos is a great actor, but it's like you could give, I don't know, like Daniel Day-Lewis the assignment, but if the script sucks, and I don't know. I mean, there's only so much an actor can do to raise the profile of a badly written script or a character, right? Exactly. So. And yes, Manos Time, we will also get into the Harry Potter casting. I just saw your comment there. Antonio is here saying hello to everybody, and also letting you guys know, hit the like button. We are going to move on. Don't worry. I think we have overstayed our welcome on this topic, but I just wanted to say hello to everybody in the chat while we're talking about this. One last thing here before we move on. Enterprising saying, which is a shame since this is a Black Panther spinoff. It feels disappointing. Miss Marvel was given a better chance to succeed. Yes, that is very true. That is very, very true. And yes, Bastards, we will talk about the Warner Brothers story as well in a second. So let's keep the ball rolling here, shall we? Let's before we do that though, guys, if you're watching us live, obviously you're letting us know in the comments what you think. But if you're watching after the fact, get down in the comments below and let us know what you think about the new Ironheart trailer. We'd love to hear from you about it. So moving on to the next thing. Actually, 1 second. Had to press a button on the side there. But back to regularly scheduled programming. Well, the next thing that we're gonna get into is the weekend box office report. Let's see. Some of you guys are already mentioning it in the chat. Ballerina was a good movie, so you know, Bass Reeves enjoyed it. I'm sure a couple of other people in the chat also, you guys got to see the movie, and if you didn't, then you know, you probably saw one of the other several movies at the box office. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the weekend box office. So Bridget, let's talk about it, shall we? We're going to break it down in a few different steps. So the very first thing I want to mention is the opening weekend, the domestic opening weekend. We're going to get into the domestic opening weekend, then we'll take a look at the worldwide. We'll talk about maybe why Ballerina didn't do as well as it was meant to, because let's be honest, I mentioned at the top of the show that Ballerina going into the weekend, in fact, I think, Bridget, you might have been on the show, you're talking about like what it was looking at numbers-wise on Friday with John. We were thinking like 30 million, right? That was the number.
I think,
Now the number that we came out of the weekend with is 25 million. So obviously it's lower. It's not like it's not like half of what they were predicting, but it's certainly lower. Like 5 million, I don't know, you do the math on that. That's like 5/6 of what they were predicting. So that's a significant chunk that they didn't get. Now, when you look at where this compares to other movies in the John Wick franchise, you have a situation where I think the first and second John Wick movies were kind of in this range. Especially the first one, I think, opened to less than 25 million. The second one opened right around that same number. So this is, I guess, somewhere in the middle, because 3 and 4 definitely went up a notch, with 3 opening to like 58 million and the fourth John Wick movie opening to like 75. What are your thoughts on this? Are you surprised by it? I don't know if you had a chance to see the movie, but based on everything you know about it and the trailers you have seen, and obviously talking about it on Friday, were you surprised to see that it only got to 25 million over the weekend?
I know when we talked about it, I think I remember seeing the projections was like between 20 to 30. And I know John said like, oh, do you think it's going to get to 30 or above? But so I guess it doesn't completely surprise me, because I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of in the middle between 20 and 30. I feel like it kind of hit right there. Not too low, but again, not really what they were aiming for. I haven't seen it yet. I did want to, and I still want to, just to give it a fair shot anyway. And Rotten Tomatoes is looking pretty, I think it was like at 77%. So it's so far, that doesn't have terrible reviews. So yeah, I don't know. I just want to see it at least before I judge it too harshly. But yeah, it wasn't something that I was totally surprised to see that it hit 25, but comparing it to like the fourth and the fifth, obviously those did a lot better. So if we're looking at the whole history, then yeah, it does kind of seem like it really didn't hit the same marks, I think.
Yeah, well, let me kind of add my 2 cents. I know that. Let's see who said this. I think Chris mentioned this. I don't know if I saved your comment, Chris. Let me find it because I think it's not a flop. It's definitely not a flop. 25 million.
It's something. It's kind of.
It's not even, I mean, it's more than something. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I'll see if I can pull up the numbers for the whole franchise because we talked about where it ranks. It's kind of in the middle. By the way, hello to Ron in the chat. Ron is here. Hi, Ron. Okay, Chris. All right, you got a fresh comment in there. Let me put that up on screen while I talk about this. So, as far as the John Wick franchise goes, let me look up box office, and I think this movie comes in right in the middle. So let's see if I can put this up, and we'll take a look. All right, so there we go. There's the numbers. You got it on screen there. John Wick Chapter 4 kicked off to 73.8 million. Chapter 3, 56.8 million. Chapter 2 was 30 million. Now that one right there is obviously like the closest number. They're predicting this was going to get there. Now 2017 was a long time ago. So you could say, like should have done better now.
Yeah.
Because like ultimately like we're in a situation where we went from, I don't know, Bridget, like two other movies have come out and both of them have made more and more money. So like what do you think about that? Like, are you surprised that this is where this movie stands?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting just to see the whole history of how the sequels have made a lot more money than the originals. And I guess with the ballerina coming in almost as its own side thing, but still connected, obviously, I guess there just wasn't the same excitement for it, which I guess is natural. But again, I think it still falls within their ballpark range, even if it is from 2017. It's not terrible where they really made like nothing and people are hating on it.
Exactly. And then, I don't know if Chris means like the inflation as in money went up, like, if that's what you mean, or if you're talking about like the overall box office numbers were going up. But I mean, Bridget, like you were saying, as far as where Ballerina stands in the franchise, I don't know why they don't have it listed here in the same franchise because they're all part of the same franchise.
Yeah.
But Ballerina coming out with 25 million, here's the thing, you got to remember, even though they said from the world of John Wick, and even though John Wick himself is in the movie, and it's not just a cameo, he's in there for quite a bit. And there's some really cool scenes in there with Baba Yaga, aka Keanu Reeves, aka John Wick. This is still a spin-off, right? So a spin-off always tends to do lower than the actual like movies in the mainline franchise. I mean, Hobbs and Shaw did really well. This is kind of the same thing for John Wick in terms of equivalent. Like that's a good analogy, I think, or a good comparison. But Hobbs and Shaw still didn't do as well as like I think the movie that came out right before it, which was Furious 7.
Yeah,
I think 25 million isn't bad. It's like you said, like the Rotten Tomatoes rating for this is really good. So, overall, like what it's going to come down to now is you can see that this is not the holiday, but it's the summer movie season, which is the holiday season for kids, and like more and more kids from school are going to be out soon. I think some schools are already closed. Other ones might still, be waiting to close up for the summer. Obviously, most college students are already out for the summer vacation. So more and more people are going to the movie theater. And with a 75%, certified fresh and a 92% popcorn meter score, everybody who's seeing the movie loves it. So like Enterprising was saying earlier, you got to show this movie some love, because it's a good movie. From everything I've heard, from the moment the movie kicks off, like after like the beginning, like few minutes, it's action. There's not a lot of talking, but there's a lot of fighting, shooting, and like every manner of like, different kind of weapon, including flamethrowers. They made like a flamethrower gun fu scene, which I won't give away any more details of that. But I think overall, like this movie is off to a good start. Like, I don't think, despite the fact that they went through all the reshoots and stuff for additional photography to add in a lot of extra fight scenes, when they did, like, Chad Stahelski came in, the franchise director, I think they did it for the better, because the movie is pretty much universally beloved right now. It's doing well, and now at the box office, it's not doing as well as, I don't know, like Minecraft or Lilo and Stitch. But remember, guys, remember that, look at this. This is the John Wick franchise. The highest opening for any movie in the franchise was 73.8 million. And that's because people thought it was the last one until it wasn't. But, like they thought that was the last time Keanu Reeves would be John Wick. And even when you look at that movie, like it finished up not that high of a number, like 440 million. 440 million. A Black Adam. It made about the same money as Captain America Brave New World. And we thought that was a flop. Now, of course, Brave New World had a much bigger budget, but these John Wick movies aren't like $1 billion movies. Altogether, they've grossed over $1 billion. You can see the John Wick 3 made 327. So overall, the number has kept going up. And then you look at Chapter 2, which opened up closer to what Ballerina did. I mean, Bridget, I think this is if Ballerina gets anywhere close to 200 million or higher, that would be a good number. I think for what it is. Because here's the thing, if this movie is as well received as it is, we talk about how Superman being good is going to be good for Supergirl. We talk about how Fantastic Four being really good will help maybe the Avengers. I mean, not that the Avengers movies need any help. Maybe more so Thunderbolts being good will help Fantastic Four's box office.
Right.
So in that sense, I think Ballerina being good can help a Ballerina too. And I mean, Ana de Armas is getting praise for her, work in the movie. She's, I guess, really not. I guess, but like I think if you go off the review, she's perfectly cast in the role.
Yeah.
She really holds her own, especially because she's not like meant to be like the biggest, like most imposing person. So like in the fight sequences, she has to like kind of fight above her weight class all the time, and they really lean into that from a stunt choreography standpoint, which is awesome because that's something really realistic. It's coming like you could tell this movie franchise has got its roots in stunt choreography right from the very beginning, because like Chad Stahelski and co, like that's the world they come from. So they've always built that into the story, and it makes the movie more believable. So Enterprising saying, I also saw a video criticizing the female Russian assassin or spy trope being overdone now. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a subjective thing. It depends on how many of those movies you watch, and if you really get tired of it, I can watch that all day long and not care. Like, give it to me as many times as you want. And you know what, Bass? Here's the thing. That's not entirely true. Because like the first Wonder Woman movie made like 700, 800, somewhere like in the high $700 million, right? The second one came out during the pandemic and kind of flopped. It was also not as good as the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, Captain Marvel made $1 billion. Now I know those are like two really extreme examples in terms of two of the most successful female-led movies. Yeah. But I mean, Bridget, haven't you? What's that Charlize Theron franchise on Netflix? You guys, there's a second one coming out this year. Like that's 5 years after the first one.
She's been in so many that I can't franchise that she's in. Is it the
Old Guard? The Old Guard. That's what it is. Well, Atomic Blonde, I think, is another one. I don't know if that's the one getting the sequel. The Old Guard is getting the sequels, but thank you for playing, Mr. Gonzalez. No, but like I don't know, Chris. I don't know what you're talking about. She does not look like a child. I have clearly you have not seen her past work. But yeah, I mean, look, as far as this movie goes, it's good. It's fun. Like it's a fun time at the movies. It's not going to be an Oscar-winning movie, but you can go in there and you can have a good time. And it's a summer movie. It's a really good summer action movie.
Yeah.
And the ticket prices have gone up everywhere. I mean, Bridget, what do you think?
They are. When I moved to California, I was like, I mean, they're like $20 for a ticket, and I don't know. I was like, man, I used to see movies for like $12. So it just seemed like, I don't know, 10 to 12 bucks. It just seemed more expensive in California, and I get that. So I don't really watch. Well, I was. When you do AMC stubs, it's different, but like paying each time, it does add up.
It does. Yeah, I mean, look, AMC stubs is a fantastic deal if you live on either of the coasts, because even on the biggest plan, because I know that New York and LA and stuff are excluded from like their mid-tier plan, but even if you pay like $30 a month, which is the highest, I think that's the highest one, right? Like $30 odd dollars, and that gets you unlimited anywhere. Well, not unlimited, but you get like 4 movies a week, which is like 16 movies in a month.
Yeah,
just the cost of one ticket sometimes could be $30 if you live in the tri-state area or in LA.
Yeah.
So just if you even go see one movie in that month, the AMC A-list will pay itself for itself.
Yes. If you have one in your area, it's totally, I think, worth the ticket.
Absolutely. I mean, dude, $5 and $10 to go see a movie. I know this. They
I know
still
like
do
the
$5
$6
Tuesdays.
discount, yeah, like $6 Tuesdays.
Yeah.
But then they closed that movie. I had a movie theater like that, and they closed down recently after the pandemic. So it's, it's sad.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, hey, hopefully the movie business will be on the up and up with better movies coming out or movies making money. Enterprising thing, we have strong female films that have been very successful. A film's failure has little to do with having a female lead. Perfectly put. And that, I think, is a good place to pivot because I can't say it any better than that. Enterprising, thank you for summing it up. So let's keep going because, of course, that's not the only movie that was at the box office, right? Ballerina opened to 25 million. But then I believe at the bottom of this article, they give us a list of the whole weekend. So you see Lilo and Stitch still won the weekend because it made 32.5 million. So it came at number one for 3 weeks in a row now. And now its domestic number has crossed 300 million, which is really impressive. And Ballerina, of course, we talked about 25 million. Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning, 15 million. That's not bad. It's now approaching 150 million domestic. It's probably not going to break the record for the franchise overall record that Mission Impossible, I believe it was, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, was it Rogue Nation that made like 691, or was it, it wasn't Ghost Protocol, it was Rogue Nation, or the one after it, which I'm forgetting the name of, but it's probably not going to get that far. The budget for Ballerina was around 90 million, as Mr. Gonzalez is pointing out, Antonio. So, I mean, look, it's going to make its money back. It's going to, given the start that it's had, and we're going to get into international numbers in a second, it's going to make its money back. Yeah, and then look, the VOD, the post theatrical numbers will help it get there all the way. Good question from Steven. I'm going to save that and get back to it in a minute. But you can see here the top 5. Karate Kid in his second weekend is already down to 4 because, I mean, it didn't have the best of starts. Now we're 2 weekends in a row where the new movie of the week underperformed its expectations. Karate Kid underperformed its initial prediction by a few $1 million, as did Ballerina. I know some of you guys have been pointing out in the chat, I feel like maybe the title of the movie could have been better. Maybe instead of calling it Ballerina, they could have changed the title. Maybe they should have, instead of doing From the World of John Wick, like, when you fall asleep by the time you listen to the title, they should have just said John Wick, Ballerina.
Yeah, it would have let people know, too, what it's even related to.
I think they overthought it. But anyway, like Final Destination there, Definition Scheme, the new West Definition Scheme. The new Wes Anderson movie, of course, that's gone wide. Sinners is still in the top 10. Number 9, making almost $3 million. And then Thunderbolts. You know what's surprising? Thunderbolts came out after Sinners, and 2 weeks after, and it's already dropped below Sinners, almost out of the top 10 at 2.5 million, but still a respectable 186 domestic, but Sinners obviously even higher than that. So the domestic numbers are good, but now we look at the worldwide numbers, guys. Look at the headline. Look at this. In 3 weeks, Lilo and Stitch has gone to around 800 million. I remember it took like Minecraft like 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks to get that far. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning also getting to 450 million, which is not bad at all. It's not bad at all. By the way, one of you guys let me know, what is the highest grossing Mission Impossible movie? I forget like which of the ones it was. I'm blanking on it right now. Was it the one with Henry Cavill in it? But you guys let me know. But right now, the Final Reckoning looking like it's probably going to end up being pretty high up the list as far as Mission Impossible movie box offices go. Ballerina, bows into 51 million. So remember, it made 25 million domestic. It made just about as much, let's say around 26 million international, with a budget of 90 million. I think that's enough for it to make its money back. You give it a few weeks with the positive word of mouth, it's going to get there. Bridget, do you think that it's off to a good enough of a start that despite the fact we have, of course, other huge movies coming out like How to Train Your Dragon, which Steven was asking about, and then you get into July and all of a sudden you've got Jurassic World and Superman and Fantastic Four, do you think Ballerina can make its money back? Because if it's got a budget of 90, you probably want to get at least past 200 million to consider yourself profitable. Do you think it will get that far?
I don't know, to be honest. It really depends. I do feel like we're having a lot of stuff come out. As you said, How to Train Your Dragon is going to get a lot of buzz. It's hard to predict, but I do have a feeling. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if it's going to hit its mark. I just don't know. Hopefully, word of mouth gets around, the buzz grows, and people do see it. But there's already a new slate of things to be coming out soon. Maybe people are saving their money for the movies that they really want to see in theaters, and that might mean that not as many people that would like to see Ballerina would.
Yeah. I think right now there's enough people out, like enough movies and playing in theaters and certainly people have time, hopefully more time in the summer months, especially if you are like a student and your school's out, like you can go and see multiple movies in a week. Antonio saying that's almost 700 theaters less than Lilo and Stitch, so take that into account for the 25 million. Yeah, Lilo and Stitch is still playing in a lot more theaters than Ballerina is. 700 isn't gonna make or break, but it will make a difference. That 700 extra screens could have brought in a few $1 million more. That's definitely true, Antonio. I think that could have had enough of an effect. By the way, hello Hosea in the chat, how are you doing today? Antonio adding, I don't know if the name thing hurt them because people use that as an excuse with Birds of Prey, and that kicked butt on video on demand. It was a top 10 stream on HBO Max for 6 months. It was, and it actually made a decent amount of money for what it was in movie theaters too. I don't know if it was profitable coming out of the box office, but it did a good amount it made a good amount. 51 million isn't bad. And again, this movie will do well in post theatrical as well. But I'm just impressed by like where all of these other big movies are standing now, because Lilo and Stitch is well on its way to $1 billion. I think at this point it's not even a question. It's like you said, Bridget, it's basically in 3 weeks. Not even 3 weeks. It's his third weekend. So if you really think about it, it's 3 weekends, which is like 2.5 weeks more or less. So it might get to $1 billion in a couple of weeks' time. You look at some of the other territories, like the top 5 to date for Lilo and Stitch. You got Mexico, UK, France, Brazil, Germany. It's doing really well abroad. Mission Impossible also, it's doing really well in China, so that's also good for like other movies that are going to be coming out soon, like Superman, which we have a new piece of footage from China for Superman later in the show. But Antonio's saying Fallout holds the record, 791 million. I just don't think Final Reckoning gets anywhere close to that. I feel like this movie will probably cross 500 million. I think that's pretty much a certainty. I just don't, maybe cross the 600, but
it's not going to reach.
It's not going to reach. I just don't think so. It needed a bigger start, and then again with how congested the movie schedule is going to get. But thank you again, Antonio, for pointing that out. 791 million is ultimately for Mission Impossible Fallout is going to be the high mark for the franchise, at least until they maybe make another one. So who knows? They should at least make 600. Not a bad way. No, exactly. Not a bad way to close out the franchise. Mission Impossible has never been $1 billion franchise. But if it can close out with 600 million, that is a very respectable number for most people. That they'll be popping bottles, they'd be having a party, taking the rest of the year off, and being like, "I'm good, I can retire early." Like, it's 600 million is a very good number. Now, obviously, they're not going to take all of that money home because, as we know, they spent like 400 million making it and then marketing on top. So, I mean, Bridget, I don't think it's going to end up being profitable considering how expensive the movie was, but. I don't think Paramount really even cares as much about that, because these movies, the Tom Cruise movies, they stick around in theaters for a lot longer than most other movies do these days, and then they also do well post theatrical, like people getting them on rental services or on different streaming platforms, like buying them. Like I bought Top Gun Maverick on digital. I bought the Blu-ray Steelbook. Obviously I saw it multiple times in a movie theater, and I have Paramount Plus, I'm probably going to do the same for Mission Impossible. So there's a fan base out there and they appreciate the movies. So but as far as Antonio's saying, he doesn't think they're going to get to 200 million with Ballerina, but 150 to 200 million I think is the range. If Ballerina gets in that range worldwide, starting off at 51 million, that would be like 3x pretty much, 3 times what its opening weekend did, or maybe up to 4x. That's a really good leggy kind of performance, and also that would be enough to be profitable. So yeah, absolutely. Well, Lilo and Stitch and Tom Cruise can make their money until Superman and Jurassic World come out. So, and Fantastic Four, which is a little further away because it's the last movie in July. But anyway, guys, let us know in the comments down below what you thought about the weekend box office report. Are you surprised to see Lilo and Stitch at the top of the box office for 3 weekends in a row, just running its way to the $1 billion mark? And of course, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, now getting closer to 500 million, and with Ballerina kicking off to 25 million domestic and 51 worldwide. Not a bad number. It's pretty much in line with John Wick 2. It's lower than 3 and 4, but as a spin-off where John Wick is not the main character, even though he is there, I think that's a good start. Like how far it goes will all depend on the positive word of mouth, which the movie does have. It's got a Rotten Tomatoes score of like in the high 70s, and then a popcorn meter in the 90s. So I think ultimately Ballerina's got the word of mouth on its side, and then most people who are watching the movie, they're recommending it to other people to go see it, and maybe they'll go see it multiple times. You guys let us know in the comments down below. Will you go see Ballerina a few more times? And if you will, then, or if you already have, let us know in the comments what your thoughts were, and then we will bring those in to the show. Much like I think some of you guys watching did. Basri saw it. He said it was a good movie, and you know what? That's exactly why you guys can drop your comments down below. We'll bring it into the Q&A session at the end of the week. Now we gotta talk about the business of Hollywood. And well, today we found out that Warner Brothers Discovery is actually officially, splitting and calling it a day, saying, it was nice knowing you, we'll see you around. And now, Bridget, here's the thing. Let's give some context to this, right? Because people are like, whoa, what? Warner Brothers Discovery is splitting in half? What is going on? So I know a lot of you guys are really savvy if you're watching live, especially if you're watching live, and even if you're not watching live, a lot of you guys know what's been going on in the world of Hollywood, especially just the general media business, whether it's television or movies. Recently, like I think one of you guys pointed out in the chat earlier, Universal did something similar, where Universal, and when I say Universal, I mean Comcast. So it was NBC Universal under the Comcast banner. They split themselves in half. Basically, they said, okay, everything that is studios like Universal Pictures, all the studios that make the movies and TV shows, Peacock, and all of their assets that are making money for them, that was one side of the company. And then they took all the cable networks, not every cable network, like the NBC, this broadcast network is still with NBC Universal, but like MSNBC, you had USA Network, Sci-Fi, all the other networks, which in large, basically, we're seeing the decline of cable. So most people are not, subscribed to cable anymore. And so for businesses like Warner Brothers Discovery, for businesses like Paramount, for like Universal, they've been losing money from those networks. So they decided we're going to piecemeal out those, loss-making assets, essentially, and spin them off as their own company. Spinco was the term that was used in the trades. And well, ultimately what ended up happening is now we have, I think he was the CFO of NBC Universal prior to the split. He's now the CEO of what the company is now called Versant, and they're off on their own. They're going to have separate offices. They're recent, MSNBC, CNBC, all those other, networks that were split off. They're going to be their own thing, separate from the main NBC Universal. The shareholders are still kind of the same. Like, the shareholders of the company before got the majority shareholding for the new company that got spun off. Mm-hmm. But now Warner Brothers Discovery is doing something very similar. So basically, if you guys remember, Warner Brothers recently renamed Max back to HBO Max. They've also been getting rid of a lot of, they've also been getting rid of a lot of like, kids programming and stuff. They're trying to like, HBO Max is for adults. We're not going to have as much kids stuff in there. Well, yeah, the Roman Empire did split in two before. I don't know if the analogy applies here. But yeah.
Foreshadowing.
But basically, Warner Brothers, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Warner Brothers decided they were going to take all their streaming assets, put it on one side of the company, streaming and studios, and then put all the networks on the other side, TNT, True TV, TBS, Bravo, all of those other. Actually, no, I don't think Bravo is part of the package. But anyway, I might be misquoting that one. But like all the other networks that they own into the global networks portion. And now clearly people thought this was a precursor to them either spinning off the global networks as its own company or selling it off. Now what's happened today is that they've decided to actually spin it off. And so they've got their own little spinco, because this new company doesn't yet have a name. But Gunnar Weidenfels, who is the CFO of Warner Brothers Discovery, he's going to become the president and CEO of the new networks business, so all the networks that are being spun off. The ugly ducklings of the company, as it were. Meanwhile, all the big stuff that Warner Brothers wants to keep, including Warner Brothers Television, Motion Picture Group, basically that it comprises of all the studios like DC Studios, you have New Line Cinemas, Warner Brothers Pictures, HBO Max, and all of their film and television libraries. That's all going to continue to be under the main company that is going to continue to be Warner Brothers. So essentially the Discovery part of the company is being spun off after the two came together a few years ago, because TNT, Discovery, all of the Discovery networks, CNN, you also have Discovery Plus and Bleacher Report, all of that is going to this new company. Now, with this split, the other thing that I noticed, let me see if I can find the article for it. Most of Warner Brothers' debt, which is like $37 billion, that's gonna get loaded onto this new company. So I'm like, and it's a not insignificant portion so that will remain with the streaming and studio side that David Zaslav is going to be the CEO of, which includes DC. So if you guys are fans of obviously DC Studios will stick under the David Zaslav, the rule of Zaslav, as it were. But not insignificant portion still, doesn't mean that the majority of it, like, I don't know, maybe it means 30 billion goes with the new company and 7 billion sticks around. So it's a really clever move. And it's a really clever move. And Jalen, I see your question. I'm going to get into that in a second. Elite Easy saying David Zaslav is playing 4D chess. You know what, Bridget? I know I'm kind of like ranting here for a second. I want to get your opinion on this. But think about this for a second. David Zaslav was the CEO of Discovery. Discovery bought Warner Brothers from AT&T as essentially a distressed asset, as they would say in the world of business, especially because under the tutelage of AT&T, Warner Brothers had loaded up on debt. They were a loss-making company. They were not doing well at all. That was when the DCEU was going downhill and everything else was sucking. So basically, and there was no world 20 years ago where you would have thought Discovery would buy Warner Brothers. Like, you would think it would be complete opposite. But then basically what happened is David Zaslav comes in as the CEO of Discovery, says, Warner Brothers, please, we will buy you because we have money in the bank and you guys don't. But they took on a lot of the debt that Warner Brothers had. And now David Zaslav is making out of this looking like one of the smartest CEOs in the world, because the dude came in with Discovery and now is kicking Discovery out, saying goodbye. It was nice
head of Warner Brothers
seeing you, and I'm gonna be the head of this glamorous movie studio while you guys can go out in the desert and try to survive.
Documentaries.
Like, it is giving the studio exactly, Fiona. I mean, that's that's the exact reason why the studio is such a good show, because it's real. It's so close to what happens in real life. It is great. And now that the split up, what happens to the children? You know what? That is a good point. Let's get into that, right? Because that's the story. That is the story. Basically, they're splitting off all the networks that don't make money, and they're sending them off on their own and saying, go ahead, do your thing. By the way, here's like $30 billion in debt. We'll keep like a few billion, but like, you get the rest of it. I mean, for all we know, this company might go on bankrupt in a few years. This new company they're spitting off, considering the amount of debt it's going to have. And clearly, cable is not quite, all of a sudden going to start doing any better. But we do know Versant on Universal, they were thinking that once they're up and running, they might look to merge and acquire other companies. So for all we know, like, all of these Warner Brothers or former Warner Brothers networks like TNT, CNN, and then MSNBC and CNBC, like, the two companies might eventually merge and then die. But I don't know, like, we will see where that goes. But
yeah.
But it is exactly, Swag fan, that is smart AF, right? Like, David Zaslav making out like, I don't know, like, the dude just got paid however many millions of dollars, what we were talking about, like his pay package that they denied, but then the dude is like playing 4D chess. Suck my debt. Exactly right. That's exactly what David Zaslav said.
Wow.
But the other thing they said is, like, this is going to allow the two companies to be free and clear to go and go into mergers and acquisitions. I know David Zaslav wants to go out and, like, start buying things. That's how Discovery grew under his leadership. They went and bought a lot of the competitors and everything. So obviously it's in the DNA of how to run a company under David Zaslav. And because of all the debt that they had when they bought, Warner Brothers, David Zaslav wasn't really able to do that. But now he's thinking, like, okay, we're not going to have that much debt anymore after this.
I've got more money in my pocket.
Yeah, maybe we can go buy a few like companies and other studios and stuff. So Bass Reeves, DC will reboot Gunn's universe before it gets started. I don't think that's gonna happen. But we will talk about it. I think one of you guys had a good question I'll get into in a second. Ron saying, I'm happy this reduces the debt of Warner Brothers so Warner Brothers can focus more on the bread and butter, which is movies. Exactly. That is the positive side of this, because now the big company Warner Brothers Discovery, which I guess soon will not be Warner Brothers Discovery because Discovery is going off on its own again. Again, it blows my mind that it happened. It only took a few years for them to like come together and break apart again. It's like AOL Time Warner all over again. That happened in the 90s. Like AOL and Time Warner came together, and then AOL all of a sudden fell off a cliff, and they were like, nope, all right, this is not working out.
That never happened.
This is pretty much the same thing, except like obviously different economic circumstances. But yeah, good point from Ron. I think this keeps Warner Brothers, like Elite Easy saying, out of trouble. But the global group, I don't know. Like they're gonna have so much debt, and I don't think they're in a position to make money unless they start to like launch a streaming service of their own. I mean, Discovery Plus they will have, so like HBO Max will stay with Warner Brothers, and then Discovery Plus goes with Discovery. I guess the only thing that will change is you probably won't have the Property Brothers on HBO Max anymore. You'll have to subscribe to Discovery Plus for that. So there's all of that. But I mean, Bridget, like all of this context now, what do you think about this whole deal? Do you think David Zaslav is the smartest man in Hollywood with what he has done here? Was this the plan the whole time, or do you think he just, as he saw the landscape, he thought this was was this legitimately just him trying to do what's best for business, or is this just like some 4D chess move that some of the guys in the chat were talking about?
I mean, it does kind of, now that I'm hearing all this info, it does kind of seem like we could have all been in for this all along, because maybe he was all these moves ahead years and years ago, knowing that this is what he wanted. But it does surprise. I can't believe that global networks, I guess, agreed to this in a way to be, cast out, cut off from their.
I don't think they had a choice. This was just they're just doing it. I mean, in the case of like Gunnar Weidenfels, he gets to become a CEO of a huge company coming out of it. So for him, it's a promotion. He's probably happy. He's going from CFO to CEO. For David Zaslav, it means he's getting rid of a huge chunk of that $37 billion of debt. Like all of a sudden,
really, like cutting off all the problem people there.
It's kind of crazy.
I don't know. I guess probably was the smartest move. Again, I don't know. Yeah, because we are as a society, we're moving from cable, we're going into streaming. I do think they'd have different interests anyway, so it is good that they're kind of.
You're right, because it was always a very weird mashup of companies, right? Like, Discovery Plus again integrating with Warner Brothers. They have some connections, but one of them is a very television company. Basically, Discovery Plus is all about TV. Warner Brothers had TV assets, but also a lot of movie stuff. And it was just weird seeing the two come together, and they've tried to make it work, but I don't know. I think this might have been a long time plan.
It's gonna happen. Maybe.
It's just like they got to a point where they're now, they're like, all right, we'll pull the trigger. We've been working for it. But yeah, you guys are talking about it. This is not the first time something like this has happened. The AOL and Time Warner merger happened in the 2000s, and then by 2009, it fell apart. Then you had the AT&T and Warner Media merger, which we've talked about at length. In 2018 to 2021, of course, that ended badly with the DCEU and then the pandemic and everything else. And then Warner Brothers Discovery from 2022 to I guess 2026, whenever this thing gets finalized, David Zaslav comes in and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna stay with Warner Brothers. You guys go do your own thing. Again, the man is playing.
It's so funny, just totally jumping ship.
It's kind of crazy. It is really crazy that it's like, was this his plan the whole time? Like for something like this to happen? It is genius. I mean, I don't want to give him too much credit, but still. Good question though from Enterprising. Makes me wonder how it affects adult Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. I think. Let me actually go back to the article where they said like what happens to the children as it were. I don't know if they mentioned Cartoon Network being split up with the networks, like if it's gonna stay with Warner Brothers or if it's gonna go the other way. Okay, so here we go. Here's a list, right? So let's talk about this. the new company, Warner Brothers Discovery Streaming and Studios, which will probably end up being Warner Brothers, just plain old Warner Brothers. They will have Max, all of HBO Max worldwide. They will have HBO and all of its linear channels. They will keep TNT Sports International, so the UK and Ireland. So they do have a little bit of sports. Warner Brothers Motion Picture Group, which includes Warner Brothers Pictures, New Line Cinema, and Warner Brothers Pictures Animation. Then they have DC Studios and DC Comics Publishing. Then Warner Brothers Television Group, which includes Warner Brothers Television, Warner Brothers Unscripted Television, so like all the reality shows, and there's a few different divisions of that. Then you have Warner Brothers Animation, Cartoon Network Studios, and Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe. Then you also have Warner Brothers Games, tours, retail experiences, including consumer products and brand licensing. Again, because all the IP is sticking with them pretty much, so they're going to keep all of the licensing and consumer products divisions. Studio production facilities in Burbank, and Warner Brothers Studios leaves in England. So all the big production facilities, the backlot in Burbank, all of that sticks with the company Warner Brothers, that David Zaslav is going to be in charge of. Then the global network side, which probably will end up being called Discovery again, except this time they have a few more things than the Discovery before they merged with Warner Brothers Discovery. So U.S. General and Lifestyle Entertainment Networks, which of course include your TNTs and TBSs of the world. You have TCM, OWN, HGTV Food Network, Discovery Channel, TLC, Animal Planet, Cartoon Network. So there you go. Cartoon Network and Adult Swim will go with the global networks. CNN, all of CNN, including the upcoming streaming service. I don't know why they shut down CNN Plus at this point. Like, they did all the work a few years ago. So that maybe this wasn't the plan all along. Because remember when the merger happened with Discovery and Warner Brothers, CNN Plus was starting off. They had spent like millions of dollars working on it, and then they shut it down. And now essentially they're going to start it back up again. So whatever. Anyway, Discovery Plus, the streaming service, is going to be part of this new global networks team. All the TNT Sports US rights, including baseball, NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. You've got the NHL, the US Soccer Federation, the Unrivaled League, which is the Women's Basketball League, NASCAR, the new Roland Garros, which is essentially is that the French Tennis Open, I think. You have the NCAA Big 12 deal, of course, the Big 12 deal and men's and football and basketball deals. You have the Big East men's and women's basketball, Bleacher Report, and House of Highlights, all under TNT Sports. Eurosport.com and Golf Digest, which is under TNT Sports. So this is the picture that they showed. Let me see if I can open this up so it's more of a visual. There you go, a visual reference. But on the left here, you can see everything that the global networks is going to have. On the right, you can see everything that Warner Brothers, the streaming and studios will have. So there you go. TCM, Elite Easy, TCM looks like it's gonna be included. If I read it correctly earlier, TCM is gonna stick with the Warner Brothers. Let me just go back and let's read the list again. So TCM, actually no. Oh wait, yep. Turner Classic Movies is going with the networks. So Elite Easy, to answer your question, TCM is going to be part of the new company. So that's where that goes. Cartoon Network is part of the new company. Wasn't AT&T the ones that started? Yes, they were. AT&T were the ones who started it. But like when David Zaslav came in, they shut it down. And now essentially, they're going to be, CNN is working on launching it again. I don't know if they're going to call it CNN Plus again, but it's whatever. Yeah. So there you go.
David Zaslav's rule, they weren't allowed to have CNN Plus, so they had to.
Yeah, I guess he wasn't thinking about it the whole time. It's just Taylor's version. You're right, exactly. NBC did. I mean, but I'm sure they were working on the same thing this whole time. I wonder if Paramount's going to do something similar after the Skydance merger, because Paramount is another one that owns a lot of networks, right? You've got the Paramount Network, you've got all the other channels that they own, you got MTV and everything, and then of course you have Paramount, Studios, or Paramount Pictures, I should say, and all their movie studio side of things. So like Paramount has also been losing a lot of money on TV production, so like cable TV production. So, sorry, you were saying, Bridget?
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Nickelodeon's a big one. So yeah. Enterprising asking, how does it affect Adult Swim, Cartoon Network, and TNT? All of that's going to be part of the new company. So that's going to be like Discovery, basically. So that's on the left. You can see that on the left there. So you got Discovery, TNT, Cartoon Network. It's all their Adult Swim. AOL and Turner merger killed WCW. Yeah, you know what? It did. But here's the thing, though, Elite Easy. AEW's deal is with TNT and TBS, but they also now air on HBO Max. So I wonder how that's gonna work, like where you have a lot of these shows and that air on the cable networks, but then also go on streaming. If that means that in the future, once this split is done, if AEW will be available on Discovery Plus, but not HBO Max, right? Like, so that's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Obviously, from a perspective of all the DC fans, you can firmly see DC Studios and DC Comics Publishing. That's all going along with the David Zaslav and Warner Brothers crew. So, yeah, he does have the former president of Warner Brothers, Alan Horn, advising him, as well as Mike DeLuca killing it for having Minecraft and Sinners making up for Mickey 17 and Alter Knights. Exactly. Look, I've been saying it for a long time. I think David Zaslav has has a few more surprises in his pocket, and this was definitely, it's not something that we didn't see coming, but it's finally here, and it feels inevitable in hindsight, but it's still 4D chess considering how things started a few years ago with the merger with Discovery. So TCM should be with HBO Max. I agree with you, especially considering how many people they laid off. Like, there's not much left of TCM to begin with. But anyway, I guess we'll see. The Penguin was awesome. That's gonna live with Warner Brothers. Yeah. I mean, Jalen, to answer your question, so what you were saying is DC is safe after all this splitting. Yes, Jalen. So DC is firmly with the Warner Brothers Studios side. They're safe. They're not going anywhere. Every part of DC.
With their mom.
It's all together. It's all together with HBO Max, and Warner Brothers Television and DC Studios. So that's not going anywhere. He's a good businessman. Yeah, he might be greedy. He's getting paid a lot of money. Yep. Yep. Well, what was the other question? I think Jalen was asking, okay, how this affects DC as a whole. I don't think this affects DC as a whole in the sense that it's not going to affect anything that we have on the calendar. It's going to probably just give them, more room to play, because the whole company is going to have less debt, which means they might be able to give bigger budgets to DC movies and not be as constrained, because we saw that the year when they had those 4 DCEU movies, they were limited on how much they wanted to market every movie, because they were like, hey, we just don't have enough money to like market every movie at the same scale. And those are small things, but in the grand scale of scheme of things, it's gonna matter. And I think right now the margin of error for Warner Brothers coming out of this is gonna be a lot higher, because they'll have a lot less debt and hopefully more money in the bank. So that's gonna matter. David Zaslav going to eventually sell off Warner Brothers, split it up to make it easier to do. I don't know if he's gonna do that. I think if anything, this new combined entity or this new split entity is designed to be ready to acquire other pieces. So if Paramount spins off something, if Lionsgate gets into trouble, I think David Zaslav has shown over his time at Discovery, the split is happening obviously under his watch, but the majority of the time that, you talk about mergers and acquisitions, David Zaslav is the kind of person who's like, always, the buyer, not the seller. Like, he's helped grow Discovery by acquiring a lot of, content and networks. So, oh, did I skip your comment? What did I skip, Ron? The only bad thing to come from this is that Batman won't be featured on Rachel Ray's cooking show. Oh man, that does suck. Dang it! I'm not as
so hoping that was gonna happen.
Heartbroken about that. Sorry, Ron. Was that the comment you wanted me to show? Swag fans saying, though they have the debt, if Warner Brothers Discovery creates their own streaming service, it could work for them, given the content they'll have now. Well, so you can see all the stuff, like all the Discovery stuff is gonna, Discovery Plus is gonna be the streaming service, like on the global network side. So they still have everything HGTV. They have all, some of the TNT rights to sports, like all the, like, they have they'll have the Final Four stuff. They'll have the NASCAR rights. A lot of that stuff is still there. They still have Champions League rights internationally in the UK. They have TNT Sports in the US. So TNT Sports is also getting split in half, which is the weird part here, because a lot of the TNT International stuff is staying with Warner Brothers, but then the US stuff is going to the new company, which is interesting. So there are a few wrinkles here, but yeah, I mean, both of them have a streaming service. Like, they split the kids in half too. Like, HBO Max went with the studios and Discovery Plus went with Global Networks. So I showed that comment already. Zaslav kind of reminds me of how Jeffrey Katzenberg was depicted in the Goofy movie doc on D+. good at what he does, but maybe not the most charismatic fella. No, yeah, that's fair. What did he say? Like it was, Destiny is like something about Destiny when the HBO Max rename to Max. It's our rendezvous with Destiny. Yeah, he doesn't have the most charisma. He's not the most charismatic person. But yeah. Yeah, the Winter Classic is gonna continue to be on TNT, I think, right? So that's gonna be all with the new company, not the studio side. But basically, I think in practicality, yeah, Eurosport is going along with the new company. I mean, you'll still have it. Chances are, like the all the same stuff is going to be available on the same network. The big thing that will change is I feel like there won't be as much, cross branding. Basically, what happens right now, like for example, during the NBA Finals, not the NBA Finals, the NBA Eastern Conference Finals, they had John Cena come on inside the NBA and promote Peacemaker because Peacemaker is going to be on Max or HBO Max, and TNT obviously, like it's all one company now. After the split, they're two separate companies. So you're probably not gonna. I mean, they could still do it, but it's less. It's not like an in-house.
There's no incentive. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's less likely to be a thing that they do. So, Enterprising asking, do animation productions for television answer to Global, while animated movies and streaming shows to Warner Brothers Discovery, streaming, and studios? That's a good question. I think all of the production work is gonna land with the new studios. So if you look at the list from earlier. Here we go. So all of the animation, like if they're making the show, the studio making the show is part of Warner Brothers, the streaming and studios. That's all there. It doesn't matter if it ends up on TV, if it's like an animated show or a movie, the production side is with Warner Brothers. Now, the thing is, all these networks can still order shows. Like for example, Cartoon Network could ask Warner Brothers Animation to make them a new Tom and Jerry show. They can do that, but it's no longer going to be like all vertically integrated within the same company. It's one company's network asking another company's studio to make them the show. Like for example, Warner Brothers Television made Friends, and that show lives on HBO Max, and they do a lot of reruns on like TNT and TBS, right?
Yeah.
Up until now, it was all one big company. It was all in-house. They were paying themselves for the reruns. Now they're two different companies, because the rights to Friends lives with Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers Television made it. It's also streaming on HBO Max, not Discovery Plus, which is now a different company. And if it's going to re-air on TNT and syndication or TBS, they're going to have to pay licensing fees, which they're not just paying into their own pockets anymore. They're two separate companies now. So like those are some of the scenarios where you'll see the differences. So
it's true.
Yeah. But all right. Well, I think that's enough breaking down. We will follow the news as it progresses regarding this. Obviously, it's a lot of moving pieces, as you saw. Hopefully, we gave you some clarification if you're wondering. I know you guys had a lot of good question there. And then, yeah, as far as Enterprise in question, I think this is the last one we'll take for now. For Warner Brothers Discovery licensing content to itself. Yeah, they were, essentially. It's all in-house, right? But now they won't be. Now, if TNT wants to air something that's based on an IP that Warner Brothers owns, they will have to license it from a separate company, legally speaking. And again, the similar situation where the shareholders will get a stock in both new companies that currently own Warner Brothers Discovery. So in effect, a lot of the same shareholders will own stock in both companies. Some of the details regarding that are not clear yet, so we'll wait for that to come clear. Yeah, exactly like Elite Easy say. It was all under the same umbrella. Now, after the split, it's separated. But the licensing and all the IP and stuff and the brand
still belongs
to Warner Brothers. Exactly, Bridget. There you go. All right, well, guys, let us know in the comments down below. I did a lot of talking there. My voice was already kind of on the fritz at the beginning of the show. We got a lot more to get into, but let us know in the comments down below what you think about the Warner Brothers Discovery split. Was this a long time coming? Were you surprised to see it? Are you excited based on where you see your favorite brand or show or movie studio end up? If you guys are happy about it, let us know in the comments down below. If you're not happy about it, definitely let us know in the comments down below. We'll bring that into the Q&A session at the end of the week. All right, so let's move on to the next topic now. We do have to talk about The Legend of Zelda, which is a new live action movie set for 2027. Now, a few weeks ago, or it might have been, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, John and I were on the show, Bridget, and we were talking about this. Basically, we were looking at the schedule in 2027, and we looked at the schedule, and I believe, if I'm correct here, it was March 26th was the release date that The Legend of Zelda originally had. Now, we also knew that March 26th is the same weekend that a certain Godzilla times Kong Supernova comes out, which is already in production. They've already been filming it. The Legend of Zelda is a little further behind. They're kind of pre-production. They're in the casting process.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's like it's March, so it's not the summer movie season. It's not December. It's not the Christmas movie season. Those are where you can have a Barbenheimer moment because there's enough people going to the movie theater that two big movies can do well. The other thing is the audiences, because both of these movies you'd imagine between The Legend of Zelda and Godzilla times Kong, people have similar interests. There's an overlap. So, it's kind of like when Civil War and Captain America Civil War and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice at one point were going to come out on the same date, and then Batman v Superman moved out and moved, I think it moved a few weeks away from Captain America Civil War, and clearly it helped them out because both movies made a good amount of money. One of them made $1 billion+, the other one got close to it. So it turns out something similar might be happening now because The Legend of Zelda has been delayed. But it's not been delayed by months. It's only been delayed by a few weeks. So Westball and Sony are now kicking off summer 2027. And there's a few other wrinkles to this. But essentially, at its very simplest, and they're now moved from March 26th to May 7th of 2027. That's all of like 6 odd weeks. And now Disney has an untitled movie that weekend because they didn't vacate that date. And when I say vacate that date, let's take a look at the calendar for a second. Because on May 7th, that was originally, if you guys remember, that was originally going to be the date for Avengers Secret Wars. Avengers Secret Wars was meant to come out on May 7th, 2027. And now we know that movie's coming out December 17th, 2027. So the last time we talked about this, we were thinking, okay, so, which movie's going to move? Which movie's going to flinch? Is it going to be Sony? Is it going to be Warner Brothers, like Legend of Zelda or Godzilla times Kong? And then we were thinking about, okay, so if it does move, where does it go? And we were looking at the calendar before, and Legend of Zelda, instead of May 7th, it was sitting on March 26th, only a week after Sonic the Hedgehog 4. So you can't really move a week back. You got to probably move a few weeks back if you want to. But then you're like, getting further into the winter months, and that might not be good. If you move forward, there wasn't really a lot of options because you were going to run into the buzzsaw that was going to be Secret Wars in May. So there were only a few weeks separating it. So I think that, both studios were kind of ruminating on what to do, but they were kind of sticking with where they were because they were like, considering what the schedule looks like, that might be their best bet. But now that Avengers Secret Wars has gone all the way to December, that May 7th date has opened up, and Disney hasn't filled that date with another movie. Like, remember with Doomsday, they moved that from May of next year to December of next year. But instead of Avengers Doomsday coming out in May of 2026, they instead now have The Devil Wears Prada 2 coming out. Whereas in 2027, Disney didn't put a movie in May where they previously had Secret Wars. So Legend of Zelda saw the date. They were like, you know what? We can be the first big movie of the summer. Hell yeah, let's make that move. Godzilla times Kong can have March 26th all to itself. And I mean, Bridget, you tell me, do you think this is the reason? Because in the article here, they point out that, this gives the creatives of the movie more time to realize their vision. Like they're saying, for production reasons, we're changing the release date of the live action film. It will be some weeks later than the release timing we originally announced, and we will take the extra time to make the film as good as it can be. Thank you for your patience. Do you believe that that's the reason why, or do you think it's more likely because this, they just think that that other date that Avengers is not there anymore is just way better, and they avoid being on the same weekend as Godzilla times Kong?
Yeah, I mean, I think great sleuthing, Dan, on your part, because I agree that is probably why they made the move. It was purely probably unfairly a money-driven choice, so that way they can have the space to get butts in the seats and not have to compete with another huge movie. Because it's totally going to affect probably how they're doing. And since they saw this open spot on the bench, I'm not surprised they went for it. And I mean, of course, having 6 weeks extra in post is going to be helpful, but that's probably not their driving factor.
Yeah. Oh, Elite telling me to hydrate. Yeah. My voice is already like hurting. It's before the show, so I don't know if it's going to help, but I'll do it.
Hydrate, Dan.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, hey, I think this is pretty obvious. I think this move. Yeah, sure, it gives them more time, but 6 weeks. I don't know. 6 weeks doesn't give
It's
you
not gonna a lot.
like
No.
it's not like 4 months or 6 months or a year. Like you see movies moving that 6 months, it makes sense. They're probably going to shoot more scenes, or they'll just use that time for VFX work. 6 weeks just feels like, you know what, we will give Godzilla times Kong March and we will take over May, which quite frankly for Sony this is great. They might have just gotten themselves a better release date, because if you're coming out in May, you that's when Avengers was going to come out, right? So there's a reason why Avengers was going to come out in May. They're going to make more money in May than they're going to do in March. It's simple as that. Like there's a reason why Fantastic Four and Superman come out in the summer months, not in the spring months, So I think the box office potential for Legend of Zelda just went up. And Godzilla times Kong also, it's the 4th or 5th movie in the franchise, Supernova. So that movie is already part of a proven franchise that makes a lot of money. It's a multi-billion-dollar franchise. So there's a lot already, a pre-built-in audience that people know what to expect, what they're going to get. So they don't have to work as hard to sell that movie. Whereas The Legend of Zelda could maybe use that extra bump of like the early summer months where more people are just going to see the movie in general. And therefore, they'll just have more foot traffic in the door. And then, they can choose to watch Legend of Zelda. And especially when that's like the only big movie coming out that weekend. So I think this is a good decision on the part of Sony. I don't believe the official reasoning, but I don't think this move would have been possible a few weeks ago when Avengers Secret Wars was still going to come out that day. There's no way that weekend would be completely like bereft of anything else other than like an indie movie that's counter programming it. But yeah, exactly, Ron. They're coming out in December. That's why Legend of Zelda is moving to May 7th. So Martel really is in the chat. Hello, Martel. Saying, do you guys think Henry Cavill will be Ultraman and James Gunn Superman? You know what, Martel? That's a good question. I think you can definitely get the opinions of the guys in the chat, the guys and gals in the chat. I personally, to tell you, being completely honest, if James Gunn does that, then you know what, we were talking about David Zaslav playing 4D chess earlier. That would be James Gunn playing 4D chess. But I highly doubt that's going to be the case. It's a very interesting proposition. I just don't see it, because then that just brings out all like the, Henry Cavill is my Superman, folks. And, I love Henry Cavill. I think he's the best Superman ever until now. I haven't seen the new movie yet. So, I mean, maybe that opinion will change with David Cornsweet. But I just think, the PR nightmare potentially, not that, everything will be bad. People might be like, this is amazing. Great choice. Mm-hmm. But I just don't know if it's worth the distraction of having Henry Cavill make a cameo in the very first movie that's meant to kick off a new cinematic universe. Like they might bring Henry Cavill in, but they'll probably wait to do that until like, a later movie or maybe a multiverse crossover.
Yeah,
I don't know, Bridget, what do you think?
Yeah, I think once Superman has been established in his own movie, maybe in a sequel they would incorporate him. It wasn't a bit, I don't know. It's possible. I think, if they really wanted to go there, but I don't think that they will, because there's gonna, I don't know. It could be very interesting what people think.
Yep, exactly. And to kind of wrap up the Legend of Zelda news, Elite Easy putting it again very concisely here. Zelda moving was the only choice. Miyamoto and Koa are getting older and they want to see hits. No time for missteps or studio interference like the 90s Super Mario Bros. Yeah, you know what? That's a very good point. I don't know if that holds a lot of water in terms of like that's the reason, but like, certainly that could be one of the reasons. So that's a good point. And yeah, I mean, Seven Manuel, Henry Cavill could play. He already did, right? Like he was the Cavalrine. Everybody loves that. So I'm like, if you're going off that, Kevin Feige, you might as well bring him in. They will treat you better than the Fs across the street that John likes to point out every time. John would love that. He would so love that. I'm being facetious. Exactly. It would cause more chaos than excitement enterprising. And that's something that James Gunn is not looking for right now. You should just forget about Superman sometimes, still sell tickets. Okay. Well, guys, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about The Legend of Zelda moving? It's now going to be coming out on May 7th of 2027. No longer March 26th, which was the same weekend as Godzilla times Kong Supernova. So it gets a whole weekend to itself, a weekend that was previously reserved for Avengers Secret Wars before it moved to December 17th of 2027. So they left the date open and Sony was like, we'll take that. And do you think they're making the right decision? Let us know in the comments down below. Right now, we're going to switch things up. We're going to get into the quicker part of the new show, which is of course always fun because we bring in the music and then we bring in some quick hits, and that's exactly what we're here to do now. So let's keep the ball rolling here. And I found the music. Bridget, I know you enjoy it. We all enjoy it. Everybody like is dancing along to the music. So let's dive into the quick hits, and we're gonna get through them in lightning fast speed. The first one, of course, 28 years later, Sony's Danny Boyle pick is the biggest advanced ticket seller for the horror pick yet year to date. So this is the biggest advanced ticket sales, or the highest sales for any horror movie in pre-sales yet. And as a result of that, they're looking at a 34 million plus opening weekend. Are you surprised by this number? I mean, considering this is obviously not the first movie in the franchise, it's definitely a sequel, but the marketing for this has been immense, I think is the word to use. That first trailer was probably the best trailer of the year so far.
Yes.
So are you surprised that it's set to make 34 million or maybe even more than that at the opening weekend?
Not really, because again, I know we talked about this too, the trailer, and it was like nominated for an award, and it looked really enticing. And again, it's coming off this franchise, but I think the franchise in that way it helps build the excitement for this movie. So I think it's congrats for them. But yeah, I think it makes sense as well.
Yeah. Enterprising saying this is his second most anticipated horror movie. I wonder what your first one is. Was it Final Destination? Do you still have another movie that Enterprising you're looking forward to, a horror movie that more than 28 years later? If this is only your second, I wonder what your first one is. But yeah, all right, let's keep the ball rolling. We're gonna have to get into the next quick hit, which is some Warner Brothers news. All right, so on a day when they're splitting and announcing the split of the whole company in half, Warner Brothers Animation and Locksmith Animation's The Lunar Chronicles has landed a fall 2028 release. This was, of course, from the latest round of the news of the Annecy Film Festival, so that's like all animation stuff. I've seen so many good, they're showing you footage, they're showing you trailers, and it looks like they're bringing, the Lunar Chronicles to theaters on November 3rd, 2028. Noel Rafael is directing. Of course, he was a story artist on the Ninjago movie. Okay, I didn't know they made a Lego Ninjago movie. There you go. The Marvels. Okay, Ray Gunn, and the director of DC's Superhero Girls. Wow, very high bar there. Your thoughts, Bridget?
I guess I'm just confused.
I mean, it's like I'm like, okay, the guy directed the Superhero Girls. That's great. Cool.
Yeah, I guess I've never heard. Honestly, I didn't know about this book series, The Lunar Chronicles. I have no idea what it's about, so it's really hard to have an opinion on it. But it comes on my brother's birthday, so that's cool.
Yeah, these projects actually sound interesting, not random RWBY crossovers. Oh, okay, I see what you. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. November 3rd, 2028. That's definitely a long time to go, but I guess we'll see how good it is when it comes out. Speaking of things that we actually know and care about, Harry Potter HBO series. Of course, they have cast Belle Powley, Daniel Rigby as Petunia, and Vernon Dursley. So we have the Dursleys, folks. Bridget, I know you and I are both part of the generation that grew up on Harry Potter. I don't know if you were the biggest fan of the franchise, but are you excited to see the new Petunia and Vernon Dursley being cast for the show?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a really big fan. Yeah, they surprised me a little bit because they do look very different than the originals that we saw. But again, I think, too, I hear that they're trying to really stick to the books adaptation. So I guess I kind of forget how they were described in that. But yeah, I mean, they're both beautiful people. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, look, I'm not very familiar with their work, but I mean, Fiona Shaw and Richard Griffiths, that's a high bar to live up to. So
yeah,
we've already got a bunch of other actors who've already been cast in the show. You see Nick Frost playing Hagrid, Papa Sidhu playing Severus Snape. Obviously, you have John Lithgow as Dumbledore, Jeanette McTeer as Minerva McGonagall. So yeah, I mean, hey, we were all wondering who will play the Dursleys, and now we know. I guess there's still one more Dursley left, so we'll. Yeah, but Manos Time was asking about this earlier, so here we go with the quickest Manos Time. In fact, that's not the only Harry Potter casting we got to get into today. They also found Molly Weasley, Draco, and Lucius Malfoy, and more Hogwarts students. Bridget, what do you think about these castings? You can kind of walk us through it. All these actors, any of them stand out to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I high key like, because I used to love Draco Malfoy. I had like the biggest crush on him when I was like 14, and I kind of wish he came back to play Lucius because I feel like that would just really like complete everything. But I'm sure, you know, they had their reasons and they're going with Johnny Flynn. But yeah, part of me was like, oh, I kind of wish it was Tom Felton. Part of my heart.
He's gonna be on Broadway, right? He's playing.
Yeah. I think he's in the First Child. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Molly Weasley, Draco Malfoy. I again gonna be high bar. Lox Pratt. I wonder if he's any good. Johnny Flynn playing Lucius Malfoy. Seamus Finnegan is gonna be played by Leo Early. Alessa Leone playing Parvati Patel. Sienna Musa playing Lavender Brown, and then Bertie Carvel as Cornelius Fudge. So, yeah, I mean. Quite frankly, I can't tell you a lot of what these folks have done. If you guys are familiar with these names and these actors in the chat, let us know. If you're in the comments, do you feel like these are great castings? I mean, so far, I think the casting overall has been fantastic. And again, comparing them to the original movies is always going to be a fool's errand because I think they're going to go in a different direction in many ways. There will be some similarities, but in a lot of situations, it might be apples to oranges because it's a movie versus a TV show. It's the pacing and how you structure it is completely different.
But if there is one thing, I hope if they are following the book at all, I wish they had more of like Peeves. I don't know if you remember Peeves the ghost. He was like not in the film at all.
No, I mean, and some of those details, I mean, it makes sense because they were movies, right? Like you can only fit so much into like 2-3 hours, and the early movies weren't even 3 hours long. So I totally understand that they had to leave some of that stuff out, but I think that's exactly where the TV show will help them because you can focus on like, I don't know, 10, maybe 13 episodes a season. That gives you a lot more wiggle room to do that. So there you go. A lot of Harry Potter castings. But over on Disney's side, they are bleeding money because, well, not really bleeding money, but they're finally sending the last of the payouts to NBC Universal to buy Comcast's stake in Hulu. So Disney will own the entirety of Hulu. This has already been decided years ago. So a few years ago this was finalized. It just there was a sunset date on it, so they didn't have to make the payment all at once. But now Disney's going to pay $438.7 million to Comcast for the remaining value of NBC Universal's 1/3 stake in the streamer. It basically brings Hulu's valuation to $9 billion. Now this is less than what NBC Universal was asking for, because like both sides had gone and found these firms that basically give a valuation to the company and therefore how much the percentage of Comcast ownership would value. But ultimately Disney ended up paying a total of like $8.6 billion. Are you surprised by the number? I mean, Hulu is valued at $27.5 billion. That's just Hulu. I mean, Disney has that. They obviously have Disney Plus and the ESPN streaming service. I don't know, Bridget, do you have any thoughts on this? So
they're saying Hulu is valued at 27.5, just Hulu. I guess that does kind of surprise me.
Which means like 1/3 of that was like $9 billion, right? Like the $9 billion is the totality of pretty much what, or close to it, what Disney ended up paying. I think NBC were valuing Hulu a lot higher, so they were asking for more money. Basically, if you want to get context of this, both companies went and found a firm to value it for them. So like Disney's figure out, like they hired a team, they gave them a value for Hulu. NBC did the same, and then they went to like a third party and they were like, well, this is the value, and then that's the value that you agreed to, and then that based on that Disney had to pay a certain amount of money to Comcast. So yeah.
Interesting.
NBC is not losing anything from Peacock because they've kept the Hulu operation separate. This deal was agreed and finalized years ago. Like in fact, from an operational standpoint, Disney took over Hulu a few years ago. That's why you have the Hulu tab within Disney Plus now. So this is just a financial transaction that was waiting to be done. From a day-to-day operational standpoint, this was already wrapped up a couple of years back. Yeah, enterprising, they did win the deal because Disney actually got the value that was favorable to them. They paid a lot less. I'm a peacock, Terry. You gotta let me fly. I love that line. The other guys, love it. Thank you, enterprising. That made my day. I'll give you 2 equals. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. I guess when they make SNL jokes about Ulu, you know, that's not going to be part of the NBC Universal portfolio anymore. It's a Disney thing now. Not that it wasn't before, now it's all Disney. But anyway, the Quorum movie tracking firm acquired by Greenlight Analytics. Now, you guys might remember a few weeks ago, we were talking about the Superman projections, maybe a couple of weeks ago. And one of the outlets that we were talking about were the Quorum. Quorum, you know, they were projecting in their early tracking for Superman 110 to 130 million dollar opening weekend. Now, that's what they do. They are a tracking firms. They'll look at all the metrics, the social media metrics, and other, you know, sales metrics like pre-sales for tickets and stuff, and they'll say, okay, this is what they expect a movie to do on opening weekend. And basically, that's what they were doing for Superman. That's what they do for every other movie. And now they've been bought by new ownership. Bridget, what do you think about this news? Oh, can you hear me, Bridget? I don't know if Bridget is frozen. I think Bridget is frozen. But we will keep going here, shall we? All right, guys. I don't know what you guys think about this. I think this is significant from a business standpoint, but I just don't think ultimately it means a whole hell of a lot in the grand scheme of things. They're going to continue to operate, and from the side of, you know, us normal folk, they're still going to be doing the same thing. So there you go. Well, Bridget will be back soon, hopefully. But Mass Effect, Amazon TV show, well, they're adapting it as a TV series. It's not a movie. It's now got the writer Doug Jung as showrunner, the writer from Star Trek Beyond. He's going to be the showrunner for this new Mass Effect Amazon TV series. What do you guys think about this? Ron is going to bed. Goodbye, Ron. Have a good night. We will, you know, see you later, or you can watch the show after it be finished. But Mass Effect, I mean, you know what? Amazon's on a run with adapting these video games, and I just want to see if this is going to be good or not. Being the writer of Star Trek Beyond, that was a pretty good movie. I thought Star Trek Beyond, it was better than The Wrath of Khan, or, well, what do they call it? They didn't call it The Wrath of Khan. It was just Star Trek Into Darkness. Definitely better than Into Darkness. In fact, I think Star Trek Beyond was the most true to the original Star Trek movies in terms of the feel of it and the positivity and not like being overly dark. I really liked it. So, and then Fallout Season 1 was great. They're coming back with a second season, Elite EZ. So hopefully they will get it right with Mass Effect as well. Elite EZ is saying statistics nerds not jumping from sports to Hollywood, more jobs, hopefully. Exactly, about the Quorum story. So moving on to the next thing. Regina Hall joins Jennifer Garner in 5-star weekend series at Peacock. This looks interesting. I mean, Peacock doesn't have a ton of high profile TV shows, but I guess they are starting to like bring more and more stuff. That Natasha Lyonne and what's the guy behind Knives Out? Why am I blanking on his name? They have a show right now on Peacock that's really good, and I'm sure it'll come back to me. But Regina Hall and Jennifer Garner, I mean, the 5-star weekend looks interesting. Yeah, Enterprising Amazon has a pretty good record with adapting. I mean, they're doing God of War, and they have like the greatest showrunner of all time in that. You know, like he made For All Mankind, he made Battlestar Galactica. Ronald D. Moore is showrunning, you know, God of War for them. Regina Hall is, yeah, you know what, 5 Hearts I think is definitely accurate. She was the real star of the Scary movies. Yes, she was, and now she's gonna be the star of the 5-star weekend with Jennifer Garner. Yeah, I mean, Elite EZ, that Star Trek, that, you know, he knew the assignment. He did a really good job of that. I think Simon Pegg also kind of had some writing credits on that movie, so there's that too. But anywho, let's keep the ball rolling here, shall we? The next quick hit. This was really interesting. I came across this like I think over the weekend, and basically I didn't know this was a thing at all until I saw this. Ben Stiller is set to direct their long-awaited Twilight Zone movie from Warner Brothers and Leonardo DiCaprio's Appian Way. Of course, this is fresh off season 2 of Severance. They're already working on season 3. And apparently this project has been in the works for 15 plus years, with previous directors like Matt Reeves and Joseph Kosinski circling. So certainly a couple of other really big names. But okay, I think you guys are still talking about Regina Fine. Regina Fine. Oh, wow. Regina Hall. Still fine. See? Mixing up words. Enterprising says he's actually excited for this. I am too. I mean, look, Ben Stiller has the mind that for this kind of thing. I wonder if he's gonna play like, you know, the Rod Sellers role. Like, is he gonna be the man who kind of walks us in and out of all of these vignettes. Is the movie going to be a series of vignettes? Is it going to be like an anthology of a sort of a movie, or is there going to be one continuous story that plays out throughout, like, you know, like in that episode of SpongeBob that they did? I don't know, you guys might not get the reference, but I love the original Twilight Zone, the one that Jordan Peele did on Paramount Plus. Few episodes were good. Overall, my impressions weren't that good. I still go back and watch the OG show. It's so cool because especially now, like, you see every other episode they were like talking about UFOs and, like, you know, because it was the 40s and 50s, like UFOs, everybody was seeing UFOs all the time, so it made sense. But Stiller is an intriguing choice. I mean, he's directed a few other movies. I think what he did with The Secret Life of Walter Mitty was you know, amazing. I love that movie. Obviously what he's doing with Severance is fantastic, so this looks like, you know, maybe the logical next step. And considering that they had people like Joseph Kosinski and Matt Reeves attached before, and even now Leonardo DiCaprio's Appian Way is attached to like his production company, they've got the talent, and for them to trust this, you know, in the very capable hands of Ben Stiller, I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it. Well, Chris Evans can't wait to not be in Avengers Doomsday because, well, he's been promoting the new movie The Materialist, where he's also got, of course, you know, Mr. Fantastic Pedro Pascal alongside him. But when he was recently asked about, hey, are you going to be coming back for Avengers Doomsday? He said, it's sad to not be back with the band, but I'm sure they're doing something incredible, and I'm sure it's going to be that much harder when it comes out and you feel like you weren't invited to the party. I mean, I don't know, Chris, were you invited to the party? I feel like most people think you were, and you're just, you know, not telling us that you were. So yeah, I guess we'll have to just wait and see. But Chris Evans, all you know, sad about the fact that he's not going to be part of the gang for the Avengers Doomsday until he makes a cameo, which, I mean, for all we know, that might still happen. So yeah, I agree with you, Swag Fan. I think it's hard to beat the original Twilight Zone. It's really hard. It's just so atmospheric. It's also really a product of its time. Just the fact that it's like black and white 4:3, made with a completely different technology back in the day, that alone just exports you into a different world, not to mention the subject matter that they would tackle back in the day. Yeah, they do still, you know, well, we have like 3 different alien invasion or like alien conspiracy movies in the works right now, including one with Joseph Kosinski, speaking of, from the previous quick hit. Yeah, it was, the 90s run was good. It's Chris Evans trolling though, that's the question. I did see the clip. He doesn't seem like he's, at least not on the surface, but then again, he's an actor, so I don't know. Maybe come back. Yeah, Rod Sterling was a good dude. Some of the issues touched on in the original Twilight Zone and the Star Trek are evergreen for better or worse. I agree with you 1,000,000% Elite Easy, 1,000,000,000%. But speaking of other Marvel news, the Fantastic Four First Steps, they are now gonna be the longest Fantastic Four movie ever made, because we have the official runtime. It's set for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Of course, the previous 3 Fantastic Four movies, Fan Four Stick in 2015 came in at 1 hour 40 minutes. Fantastic Four: The Rise of the Silver Surfer came in at 1 hour 32 minutes, and then the 2005 version of the OG Fantastic Four with Jessica Alba, Ian Gruffudd, and Michael Chiklis, and of course Chris Evans. Speaking of Chris Evans, that movie was 1 hour 46. So this is the first in the franchise going over the 2 hour mark. So there you go. How much gaslighting can an audience take? Well, that's the thing though, like, you don't believe it anymore. Like, it doesn't matter if Chris Evans is telling it straight to your face that he's not in the movie. Until we see the movie, nobody's gonna believe him. So like, he can say it all he wants. Yeah, dude, we have the X-Files music. This deserves the X-Files music. There we go. The truth is out there. The truth is out there, my friends. We just gotta look for it. You know. Yeah, F4 might not. Well, F4? Oh, Fantastic Four. Okay, for a second I read that as F1. I don't know if it's gonna do good. I think the early pre-sales are really good. They had the biggest first day of pre-sales of any movie of the year. So I don't know. It's off to a good start. So if that's anything to go off of, then we might be in a good place. But we'll have to wait and see. We are only a few weeks away now. And of course, Kevin Feige recently commented on some Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts related stuff. So he was asked about the Fantastic Four spaceship and the Thunderbolts post-credit scene. This is from his interview in the Empire magazine. And his response was, their ship is the Excelsior. And there was a Fantastic Four ship entering the MCU, but I'm not sure they're the same ship. Ooh, okay. I don't know, guys. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think? Do you think it's not the same ship? Are we gonna get like the ship that we get in Thunderbolts, and that's, I don't know, Doctor Doom, and then we get another ship that looks the same or similar, and that's where the Fantastic Four show up? Do the Fantastic Four even show up in the ship? Do they just come through a portal? Like, I don't know. That is interesting though, right? Like, like, what's going on? Like, is Kevin Feige just trolling us? Because I feel like Kevin Feige might be just trolling us. I don't know, guys. You let me know in the comments what you think is true here. Do you think the Excelsior is the ship we see entering the MCU at the end of Thunderbolts, or is it not the same ship? Because at least according to Kevin Feige, it may not be the same ship, which, wow, that does change things potentially. Although I don't know if Kevin Feige himself would give away such a big spoiler. But anyway, we'll keep an eye out for whenever the movie, well, obviously when the movie comes out, we'll know for sure. But in the meantime, guys, let us know what you thought about all this quick hits. What was your favorite? We are gonna keep the ball rolling here because we gotta move on to the main event of the show. Of course, as always, we have to get into DCU Daily. By the way, Bridget is trying to get back into the studio. She had a bit of a Wi-Fi issue, and she is working on it. So I'm gonna just quickly send her a message. But there we go, and I'll keep an eye out for her. But in the meantime, welcome on in to the main event of the show. Welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily. We're getting into some DC news now. Enterprising is still thinking about what we just talked about on the quick hits, which is Kevin Feige maybe saying that the Fantastic Four ship that shows up at the end of Thunderbolts is not the one that we see in the Fantastic Four movie. Well, while Kevin Feige does his best to maybe troll the MCU, unless he is, onto something. I mean, he would be the man to know. We're going to talk about some DC stuff where James Gunn is always onto something. So one of the things that he's going to be onto soon is potentially not potentially, I think he's definitely going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. So this newsletter from the Hollywood Reporter, their Heat Vision newsletter, went out on Friday. And I'm going to read a little bit of it for you guys. They mentioned in there that a week ago, they were talking about how Marvel was not going to really be at San Diego Comic-Con, at least not in Hall H. They were going to have a bit of a presence, but they're not really going to have a big presentation like they did last year with Robert Downey Jr. and the Russo brothers and, announcing the new Avengers movies. And so this year, it looks like Marvel is skipping. And so this past Friday, they said, now we've got the scoop on DC's plans. So this is what they said. Neither Superman nor Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow are slated to have any Hall H panels, which makes sense because Superman would already have come out and Supergirl isn't coming out until like next summer. Even though it comes out before the next San Diego Comic-Con, you still have like the New York Comic-Con that happens in the wintertime. And remember not John Cena, but like James Gunn and the whole cast of Creature Commandos showed up to the New York Comic-Con. So it's not like unlikely that, they might, do the same thing again, this time with Supergirl. Bridget, hello, you are back. I see you. I don't know if I hear you, but there you go. Okay, so your audio is working.
Okay. Sorry, my Wi-Fi just...
No worries. It's all good. I explained it to the folks. They're okay with that. But we're talking about DC's plans for San Diego Comic-Con. Is DC time. And as I was mentioning, Superman won't be having a Hall H panel this year because the movie would have already come out. So why promote Superman when it's already in theaters? Supergirl, it looks like, won't have a panel either because the movie comes out in June of next year. So they might look to promote it at New York Comic-Con. But they're not going to be abandoning Hall H because they will still go all in for Peacemaker, which comes out in August of this year. So that makes sense. It only comes out a few weeks after Comic-Con. So John Cena will be there. James Gunn will be there. They might bring the rest of the cast. They might even do some dancing. I know John Cena said they will reveal the new show intro there. So DC, of course, is going to go all in with that. That's their next big project after Superman. So I'm sure this will be like, a big part of that marketing push. Bridget, what do you think about this? Because obviously Peacemaker is going to have a presence. We don't quite know if any of the other projects will. Obviously Supergirl won't. Clayface is another project that they're working on casting right now for the role, the lead role in there. They've recently cut down the list of 4 names we talked about last week to 3 names. We don't know which of James Watkins, George McKay, Tom Blythe, or Jack O'Connell. Sorry, not James Watkins. He's the director. We don't know which of George McKay, Tom Blythe, Jack O'Connell, or Leo Woodall have been cut out from the short list. But that Clayface project is still a ways away. So it looks like Peacemaker might be the only big project that has a Hall H presentation. What do you think? Do you think they might have a few surprises for us? James Gunn might, give us a few pieces of news, or are we just gonna get a Q&A and maybe John Cena is in costume and dances a little bit? What are your thoughts on DC's plans according to the Hollywood Reporter for San Diego Comic-Con?
Yeah, well, it's hard to predict. I mean, hopefully there will be at least some dancing from John Cena. But I wouldn't put it past him to not have any surprises. Hopefully there will be. But again, yeah, especially with Supergirl being slated for next year, it's hard to know what they're gonna pop out with. But maybe just something like a little teaser, of some information would be exciting. But yeah, maybe they'll just do that Q&A. Of course, I'm just glad they have something big planned, considering Marvel's not doing anything with the whole.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? To the Brass Reeves' point, they should be pushing Superman more than Peacemaker. They are. Dude. If you watch this show 5 days a week, I feel like all we talk about is Superman. And even now, like we've got like probably another half hour of Superman news to talk about after this. So they are definitely still promoting it. It's also the fact that Peacemaker does come out only a few weeks after Superman, so they do have to promote that as well. But I still think the balance lays heavy in favor of Superman promotion right now. Although once Superman is out, I think they will pivot entirely towards Peacemaker, which makes sense because that's Comic-Con sits right between
It'll become in a way
for Superman and Peacemaker. So yeah. Exactly. Hunter Iggy's in the chat, joining in at the perfect time. I don't know, Hunter, if you've been hanging out in the chat earlier or if you're just joined, but hello. Saying, did you see that Skywalker the Jedi said that WB is on sale after the split? I don't know, Hunter. That's we didn't see that. We did talk about the split, but I don't think that was anything that was speculated on. So we will just wait to see if that ends up being something for real or not. But Elite Easy saying it's going to be the summer of Superman. Absolutely, it's going to be the summer of Superman. And then it's going to be the summer of Peacemaker. But it's going to be the summer of DC. Exactly, Swag Fan. Exactly. He's been pushing Superman every day. He posts about it every day. We're going to get to it in a second, and you'll find out exactly what's been going on over the last few days with Superman marketing. So Ray J saying, I hope we get some Lanterns looks, maybe Teen Titans. So Bridget, the Lantern show, they're still filming the show. They will be probably done filming it by the time we get to Comic-Con in July. And then as far as Teen Titans goes, the last we heard, they were still writing the script. Ana Nogueira, who wrote the script for Supergirl, is also writing the script of Titans. So do you think, given that Titans is not even in production yet, that we will get anything for that? And then also for Lanterns, they might be finished filming, but I don't know how far they'll be in post-production. And that show comes out next year, probably not at least until the springtime. So given that we're not getting a Supergirl presentation, do you think we'll get either Lanterns or even for Teen Titans, which we don't even have like anything in production yet?
I mean, I don't know, but of course, I do agree. That's a good point, Ray J. I agree, and I hope that we do, because I love Teen Titans too. I do hope we get maybe something would be nice. But again, because you're right, they're still in those earlier stages. There's no guarantee that they're ready to talk about it, but that would be nice.
Yeah, the one thing I can see about more Superman promotion, like more crypto, or maybe the Superman cash showing up, like Pacerland317 said. Hello, Pacerland317. The only reason that happens, like if James Gunn brings on as a surprise, oh, by the way, welcome David Cornsweat and Rachel Brosnahan and stuff. The only way they would do that might be if they're announcing Superman 2, like, a sequel, because if Superman is doing really well by that
they're
time,
already on board.
But even then, they don't need to have those guys over there. Remember, they're going to be doing a 1 month long promotional tour, and they already have been doing so much work to promote the movie. They will be literally crisscrossing the entire globe. We talked about it, Bridget, right? Like they're flying between New York, LA, and Paris and Beijing in the course of like 4 or 5 days. It's insane. So, and that only ends in like late July. It ends the day the movie comes out. So they're gonna be in China the day the movie comes out in the US. I think they probably will be just resting at that point. I don't know if they're gonna fly them out. If they do have them there, they might be just doing like a either a pre-recorded thing or just bring them over like Zoom or something. So hey, Kio's in the chat. Well, hello, what's good? Sorry, Bridget, you were gonna say something. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm saying I mean, unless they're really like feeling like, oh, let's just do it all and also go to the Comic-Con and shop it. I guess it really depends. I have a feeling you're right. They'll probably be a bit burnt out.
Yeah, I mean, Elite Easy maybe saying maybe it's Batman, maybe something Batman related. I know a lot of people are saying that. Like a lot of people want to see like like Elite Easy is saying updated slate, what's canceled, what's just paused. Like is Wonder Woman still gonna have her own thing? Is Paradise Lost still happening? Yeah, is Wonder Woman out of witness protection?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think James Gunn mentioned that he's gonna answer a lot of questions, and so he's gonna talk about everything or something to that degree level. But I don't know if they're gonna do a whole slate. You know, they've gone out of their way not to do a whole slate graphic up until now. So I don't think they're gonna do that. They might be asked questions, like James Gunn might get asked, well, is this is Booster Gold still happening? And like they've given us updates at that press event earlier this year where they said, okay, so what was it? Like it was, you know, the Authority might be slowing down because a lot of the ideas got used in Superman. So we found out that update, a disappointing update, but still they told us about it. So, but they didn't do it in like, you know, here's my stuff, a big timeline with 20 different logos. So, yeah, I don't know. And as far as like the Teen Titans go, whether it's the lineup or anything else like that, I mean, until they have a finished script, I don't think James Gunn is going to want to advertise it at all. So, but an update on Wonder Woman, we might get an answer from James Gunn if he gets asked about it. So that's probably the most I would expect. Like, I know it's much needed, because especially because David Zaslav said like she's one of the pillars of DC alongside Supergirl, Superman, and Batman. So we would love to hear something about it. I just don't want to get my hopes up that they're gonna give us a new casting for Batman or Wonder Woman or any of these other characters, because that's just asking for a lot, especially because, you know, we don't know how far along that Batman Brave and the Bold script is. The last we heard, it was making good progress, but until we hear it's done, and then if Andy Muschietti is available to direct, like if he's not working on his 5 other movies he's got in line, I don't know. Like he's gonna have to be, the director has to be involved in the casting of Batman. Like and if he's not involved, then, and if Batman is not showing up at Superman anywhere, then I don't know if they have to cast Batman yet. They can sit on that for as long as they need to. So. But the Paradise Lost update would be nice, because we barely got anything about it. You know, they almost made it sound like they shelved the show, or that it was really slow moving. So, yeah, and I would think if they did announce something like Batman or anything like that, like a big casting reveal, that would be like the big Robert Downey Jr. coming back moment from last year. I just don't know if James Gunn is up to that, because he's kind of, you know, like I said, gone out of his way not to do things like that so far. But like he also didn't go to Comic-Con last year, so went to New York Comic-Con. He didn't go to, he obviously has been to CCXP this year. So San Diego Comic-Con as DC Studios boss, this will be his first time. So, you know, if he wants to make a big splash, which I mean, this is the thing, I will take like the entire cast of Peacemaker, including John Cena in costume, doing a live performance on stage for Peacemaker's new intro. I'm down. Like, give me that, and then maybe give me a bit more information on what are the cameos and all the special surprises. Although, you know, they probably won't give away the big cameo that they were teasing for Peacemaker, but give me more of that. I'll take that. Like, and then, you know, maybe that will give us clues as to what other projects might be in the works. Creature Commando season 2 is also probably going to get an update in some degree, because James Gunn has been writing it. So he's more directly attached to that, like on a producer writer level. So that's a good point, Enterprising. I think we'll probably hear about that. Dynamic Duo, I don't think so. It's still a bit early. I think it's really early, because Dynamic Duo is still probably in the concepting stage, like concept art. So I don't think that's going to get a ton of updates. Creature bringing out some of the actors for Creature Commandos would be nice, especially if they're going to be cameoing in Peacemaker, or like David Harbour comes out, you know, it's like, yes, I'm going to be showing up in the show. Although not himself, right? Because it's probably at least in a bodysuit, if not like just a CGI double. But anyway, let's move on to the next thing, because we can talk about this for days. Over the weekend, James Gunn did announce the anniversary, speaking of Creature Commandos, of, you know, his queen and of course ours, Nina Mazursky, which if John was here, he would remind us of how, you know, get in water and see what she can do, and then she dies. You know, it was a little disappointing how things played out in Creature Commandos, but it's still the anniversary of the character. Bridget, did you see Creature Commandos at all?
I didn't, but I should. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah,
but yeah, I would talk about it a bit.
It was fun. I probably spoiled for you the fate of Nina Mazursky, but you know, it was a fun show. Okay. By the way, Ray J asking if we get a Blue Beetle animated series update. Well, maybe. I mean, Joel Mardueni has been talking about it. He went to CCXP and talked about it. So it's James Gunn might answer a question. But again, we don't even know when that's set to come out. So maybe they just give us a date. Maybe they give us an episode count. Maybe they tell us who's working on it. I would not mind that at all. Jalen saying, Nina, come back, Nina. Well, I don't know. I don't know if she's coming back. But Nina Mazursky, James Gunn still loves the character. So wishing her a happy anniversary to your queen and mine. Well, moving on to the next thing. But that wasn't the only anniversary or AKA birthday over the weekend, because James Gunn wished Frank Grillo a happy birthday. Not everyone in the DCU is black or white, says James Gunn. Most are shades of gray. And no one brings color to gray more than Frank Grillo. Our own Rick Flag Sr. Can't wait for folks to see you bring the DCU together in Superman and Peacemaker. Happy birthday, buddy. This was, of course, from yesterday on Sunday. Frank Grillo celebrating his birthday. That's fantastic. I love it. I mean, Bridget, are you a fan of Frank Grillo? Of course, he was in the MCU and now he's in the DCU.
Yeah. Again, no, I haven't watched Peacemaker, so I'm not that familiar, but I know you talked a lot about him. We were talking about his gray hairs the other day. Yeah, so I'm not too well versed with him. I should watch the show and then I'll get a better idea. But I kind of have a gist of the character.
Well, he's essentially playing. So he's Rick Flag Sr., right? So he plays the father of Rick Flag from the Suicide Squad movies. Why am I forgetting? Joel Kinnaman.
Right.
Remember, he's out for revenge because of course Jon Snow's Peacemaker killed him, which is gonna be fun to see because in the latest trailer for Peacemaker or featurette, he's like pounding on Peacemaker. So yeah. I want to see what Nina could do. She was too sweet to die. I know, Swag fan. Everybody had the same reaction to the Nina Mazursky situation. That whole scene was pretty. I mean, some people called it dumb. Some people were like, that was a disappointment. It was just a twist for twist's sake. You just want to see more David Harbour. I mean, Frank and David Harbour had some good chemistry in that show, apparently. Like they got to get, if you remember talking about Creature Commandos, they were paired up with the voiceover sessions. They got real close. More cosplay. I don't know, Bridget. Is there any news? I don't know what Hunter's talking about. Did you guys talk about cosplay?
Well, maybe he remembers back in Halloween. I dressed up as Black Canary, and I took a fun photo shoot. So that was fun. And I was kind of thinking, I was like, oh, maybe I should, because I'm not too far from San Diego, so maybe I should go to Comic-Con. I've never been, but I have friends that love it, so maybe.
Well, I mean, hey, maybe if you're on the Halloween show, we'll all dress up as something. So we'll. I'm sure we'll be live, unless it's a Saturday or Sunday. Hey, the guys in the chat are telling you, give Creature Commandos a try.
Okay.
It is a fun show.
I'll have to do some research.
Yeah.
What
and also,
character?
It's basically the first proper DCU thing. Anything like obviously Superman is like the proper start to the DCU, but Creature Commandos also takes place in the same continuity. So it's really like the original introduction to the DCU. And Altered Carbon is another great show that Joel Kinnaman was a part of. That was on Netflix, so you guys can still go check that out. By the way, the Glimmercast is here. Good evening, y'all. Happy Monday, Tuesday. Hit the like button. Yeah, everybody hit the like button. We've already been live for almost 2 hours and we still have we haven't even gone to all the Superman stuff. So, but hello to Glimmercast, and Morkatna's already here. He's hyped. So hello, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. She made me wish that she was the creator of The Shape of Water. Okay, enterprising. Yeah, still talking about Nina Mazursky. That's a Black Canary. Yeah, Bridget, you said that's what you did for last year. Okay, there you go.
That's what I did for Halloween.
Yep.
I guess I could.
All
I've got
right.
it in my closet.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe we'll do that for Halloween this year. We'll all dress up as some like DCU character. Maybe I can go grab myself that Superman suit. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, Pacerland saying you might like the Bride character in the Creature Commando show. Well, the Glimmercast is in the chat. Hello, Raya. Enterprising saying I like the first season of Altered Carbon. The second season, Joel Kinnaman wasn't in it. I think it was they switched it up to Anthony Mackie was the lead, if I'm not misremembering it. Not saying that that's what made the show worse for any reason, but you know what, Glimmercast, we're about to get into that. We haven't gone there yet. So yeah, they're going on sale tomorrow. We even know the time, so we will get into it. But yes, to kind of tie up the Creature Commando situation, Elite Easy saying it was an adult animated show like Invincible. So you will see blood, you will see some swearing, you'll also see some sexy times. So there's that, you know, like there's a sex scene in there. I don't think it's very explicit, but like basically it's, you know, now you've been warned. So like it's not a kids animated show, Creature Commandos. Hopefully we don't get demonetized for all that language that I just used. But anyway, that's all the DC news that's not Superman that we have got. Now we got to dive into Superman. So Glimmercast, Raya showing up just in time. So let's get into it, shall we? We're going to first get into all the general Superman news before we get into the early ticket sales, as in the Prime Premiere ticket sales. I just wanted to say, I mean, it's now on the East Coast the 10th of June, but when we started the show it was the 9th of June, and the movie releases in France on the 9th, and the Belgium and Philippines and Taiwan. So starting the 9th of July, Superman is going to be releasing all over the world. And even today on July 10th, a month from today, now that it's June 10th on the East Coast, most of the world is going to see the movie a month from now, you know? And July 11th is when it officially comes out in the US. But even then, a lot of people will go to the Thursday screening on July 10th. So I think the graphic holds that we are officially, guys, we're officially, go away, message. We're officially 30 days. Why is this messing with me? Gosh, you know what?
Oh.
You know what?
No, how many things can go wrong?
Stupid? I was doing such a good job. We are 1 month away, people, from Superman coming out, 30 days away. July 10, July 11, July 9th, whenever you're going to go see it. We're basically 1 month away. Isn't it amazing? Like, Bridget, we've been talking about this movie, I feel like forever. Like 2-3 years for as long as DC
I remember last
around.
spring. Yeah, I remember last spring talking about it and looking at behind the scenes stills, and it's wow. Yeah, it's a long time coming.
It's crazy. Like last summer we were talking about all this, the behind the scenes photos, like you said, and now we're a month away, 30 days away. They already basically
Superman Advent calendar, and every day.
They already finished post-production. So like we found out that last Thursday they finished all the post-production. The last VFX shot was dropped in, and James Gunn said, "That's it, we're done." Yeah, I mean, David Cornsweet does Christopher Reeve's justice. He is as Superman can be, at least so far from all the material, including the bulge. You know, all included. Believe in the bulge, everybody. Just wanted to mention it. You got to bring it up at least once a show, even though Liz and John are not here. But anyway, we all have a good feeling about Superman right now, Swag fan. I think that's really where we're at, because the positive word of mouth, all the marketing. You guys were talking about how, you know, James Gunn should be focusing more on Superman marketing. Well, they are, and as you can tell there, Build-A-Bear and Crocs are doing a crossover with Superman. They're officially partnering with DC Studios for a Build-A-Bear workshop for DCU Superman Crocs and teddy bears. Bridget, would this be something that you might be interested in?
I've kind of outgrown that a little bit, unfortunately, but I'm sure all the little kids are going to be so excited. In fact, my sister was telling me that they did the same thing for Stitch. I didn't know that. They like Stitch Build-A-Bear stuff. So it is clever because
I saw that. Yes.
Involved. But it is so cute. I mean, that's adorable. If I had kids or new kids, I would get them that.
I don't know if everybody's a fan of the Crocs, but I definitely like the Build-A-Bear idea. I would totally go to a Build-A-Bear workshop. Yeah. By the way, one of the comments from early, the suit looks good here. It does look good here. I like the way it's lit. It definitely, you know, photoshopped a little bit, but it's good. Yeah, we showed these Crocs the other day, and most people were like, get it off my screen. He does have a bulge. That's right. Superman does have a bulge. I mean, it's only natural, I guess. He's a dude, so you know. It does. You know what? The suit figure drawing is here. Hello, figure drawing. The suit does look good on the bear. You can actually there's Halloween costumes already out there, so you can definitely still grab yourself a Halloween costume and be Superman and Halloween. Crocs are the devil. Jalen loves that poster. This one here. You've got a few different versions of this already. Yeah. The chat is going off. This is the best part of the show. Well, if you guys are not fans of the soccer world, then you might not know who this is. But if this, of course, is I think it's Arsenal legend Peter Crouch. He was asked like which player from the Premier League would you compare to some classic Superman characters and their iconic traits, like with the most speed and most agility and strength, or like, how nice they were or stuff like that. And so he gave up all the names of pretty much every Premier League player he could think of, including some of the recent ones like Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, Gareth Bale has not been around for a long time. He said Thierry Henry. So if you're a fan of football, aka soccer, this was fun. I liked it. I'm a big fan of the Premier League. So yeah. Raya saying they had to make the suit baggy because Soups can't wear gray gray sweatpants. You went there, Raya. There you go. Yeah, gray sweatpants. You never know, though. I mean, we haven't seen the whole movie. There may be a scene where David Cornsweet is wearing gray sweatpants, and we know the movie is PG-13, so they can't really show much. But at least they can tease. Well, they also put out this trailer for the Funko Pop stickers you can get for Superman, and they look cute. Bridget, what do you think about these?
Those do look cute. So those stickers of Funk. Okay, I was confused. Like, is there like a new animated?
So there are Funko Pops, but they also have stickers now. Like, so not only can you get like the Funko Pops, but you can get these stickers. So, like, this is like a Giphy thing. So you can type it in. And, yes, exactly.
Oh, that's so cool. Actually, I'm gonna start using that when that comes out.
I like it. I'll probably use this for my out of theater review. I'll just like stick one on there. So for the TikToks and anyway. Speaking of good posters, here's the one that we've been looking at for the last little while. They released it last week as part of the character posters. They also now, of course, this post here from Cinemark saying now available. Book a premium private screening of Superman for your group and fly into a good time in an auditorium all to yourselves. So you can book a premium private screening within discounted concessions and just bring you, your friends and family, and just watch Superman all by yourself. So I don't know. I don't know if I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever done that. But I would love to. Maybe we can if we can like put the whole group. I don't know. Everybody that watches this show is everywhere around the world. But if we had everybody kind of condensed, into a region, we could do a special private screening just for friends and family for Superman.
Brother never told you never threaten a man's family.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said the F word too many times. So I got hit with the foul. But anyway, Superman. This is still the best poster. I think this is a really good poster. I love this one. This is not the main poster, I guess, but it's definitely one of the best ones. Whereas we got Chris in the chat saying the movie's gonna flop hard, Enterprise thing is gonna be a hit. I think more people than not think it's gonna be a hit. Right now. Yes, we gotta bring Vin Diesel in sometime. We gotta like we gotta bring it in. But anyway, moving on to the next one. We will think about doing a private screening. I guess it depends on where everybody is. I mean, more like some Marco Ramos is like in Portugal, Ron is in Canada. So like Pacer Lance, I'm guessing you're in Indiana. So like it's a lot of you have to fly pretty far to get to a movie theater if we were to do one private screening. But we encourage you all to do that for yourselves. The Glimmercast, Raya saying, I actually kind of missed the original poster of him putting his boots on. It had more of a sense of weight and a story behind it. You mean like the original photo? I mean, let me see if I can find it. Because of course, our archives are full of all the Superman stuff. Do you remember this photo, Bridget? Because this was like the original photo that they came out with. And it was the very first one that they put out there. And the very first image of Superman, and people were like wondering like what is wrong with the suit, like it doesn't look like it was criticized, I think maybe even unfairly, but it was the original, like the very first thing they put out when we were still just getting set photos. I think I got it right here, so let me see if I can pull it up on screen.
By the window, right
there.
He's like by a window.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you would call that a poster, Raya, but I mean, I get your point. That was the very first look we had at Superman, and it's definitely much more like I guess grounded and has weight and story behind. Like I see exactly what you mean. They've been doing so much more since obviously, like I think they had to move beyond it. This scene has been in every trailer so far, so it looks significant. We now know like the Green Lantern Guy Gardner is the one behind that green energy. We don't know what the purple thing is, but we know that Guy Gardner like is working on whatever, containing whatever it is. So it looks, it's interesting. And yeah, Enterprising, we're gonna get into that Chinese ad spot, but good point from Raya. I think that first image was maybe perhaps a bit underrated because people looked at it and was like, I don't know, like we want to see the suit when it's not like half charred, and we want to see him like standing up and not looking all sad. So I mean, Chris, look, general audiences I think care for the movie. Sorry, go ahead, Bridget. You were saying.
No, I agree though. I actually do like this as well. I feel like you can feel the weight of what's going on even through the image, and it's really powerful. You know, getting into uniform when it's just one of those days.
In the scene itself, like Rachel Brosnahan's Lois Lane is there too, which you didn't see here. By the way, Chris, I did note down your prediction, 483 million. That's what you think the movie's gonna do. All of us have predictions. If you guys are new to the channel, Deadman or anybody else who hasn't done it before, throw in what you guys think will be the final tally at the box office for Superman, because John has a list that we put together. We all have our predictions in there. Bridget, you can probably like send John your prediction, and we'll all see. Like it's like, you know, who got the closest. Who we'll do a little bit of a Price is Right Superman themed, a Superman edition, where we'll get to find out who predicted the closest to the real number. The Dead Man saying he thinks Brainiac might be the real villain. You know what? It's very possible. But the marketing so far has been so far off the mark in terms of like showcasing anything Brainiac related, that it would be the ultimate surprise, like if James Gunn can pull that off somehow, because you have not seen any of the behind the scenes set photos with Brainiac. Right. There was a rumor that Brainiac might be coming in as a cameo at some point. They might talk about Brainiac. We know, like, according to like one of the tie-in books or comics, that apparently Superman has already fought Metallo. So, I mean, there's that. You know, Jalen thinks is gonna make $1 billion. By the way, Chris, yeah, dude, but it's a TV spot. Like nobody watches. It's not a full trailer. Half the people don't know TV spots exist. Like it's most people don't watch normal TV anymore. You know, like I'm just saying. I lost track of what I was saying earlier, but Brainiac. Yeah, I don't know, Bridget. I don't know if you're familiar with Brainiac as a character, or if you think on top of having already Lex Luthor and, you know, like all the other villains we have, you know, but and characters in general, villains or otherwise, do you think that there's room for another big villain like Brainiac in the movie, or do you think they might just reference him or save him for like a sequel, or maybe even a Justice League film?
Yeah, well, I remember people here saying that they thought he might be in the Supergirl movie, so there's that too. I don't know. Again, because we haven't seen anything, it does make me doubt it, because I mean, it would be a great, you know, pulling the wool over our eyes, thinking it's Lex Luthor the whole time, and then he comes in. But realistically, I don't know. I'm not betting on it.
Yeah, I think it's a little late in the game for them to pull that off. If they somehow do, and all of a sudden that's a surprise that they hid away from all the marketing and none of it leaked, I would be incredibly surprised.
That'd be really surprised.
And Elite Easy's saying the Funko Pops would have spoiled it. Like all the toys have spoiled half the stuff anyway. We got to look at Baby Joey for heaven's sake. Like I don't know. And Gunn has said himself, James Gunn has said Lex Luthor is the villain. So like, you know, like I think we can take him for his word for it. Deadman saying 450 million is his prediction for Superman, and he hopes that he's wrong. He or she or they hope that they're wrong. I don't know. I mean, 450 seems a little low considering that the high end of the projections, the early tracking, we're saying it might debut with close to 400 million worldwide, like with almost 180 million domestic alone. Like if that's where it starts, forget 450. We're probably talking 900 at least. So yeah. I didn't realize the Hawkworld pop figure was going to be limited release. Right? That's a good shout there. We'll see if we can bring that in for the next show, and I'll ask John about it. Yeah. Again, Enterprising saying James Gunn said the main villain is Lex, so it's Lex. And you know what? The trailers say that. The trailers borne that out. So we should take him for his word. And he hasn't, like, you know, he hasn't done. He may troll. James Gunn may troll us a little bit, but like, he doesn't like lie to us. Like he's not gonna purposely, because he knows that when people go to see the movie, and if Brainiac is the main villain, they're gonna be a little, you know, I mean, sure, that's a good kind of surprise for people, but you also gotta remember that everybody who's gonna go see the movie is a hardcore fan. So a lot of people will just be like, wait a second, this is not the movie that the trailers made it out to be. And they'll just be disappointed or feel like they got sold a lie. So that's probably why, if they had Brainiac in the movie, they would advertise him. Unless he's just a small cameo or they just mention him in dialogue, I don't think Brainiac is going to be, in the movie in any significant capacity. But I mean, if he is, the animated form was pretty good. So there's that. Bane will break, you says Superman needs an $80 popcorn bucket like Fantastic Four has. You know what? I will say the Fantastic Four popcorn bucket game so far has been better than what Superman has been doing. So I hope they pick up, the pace. We all want the Underoos. Like just make that a popcorn bucket, James Gunn, please. I know it's probably hard to like switch gears because you have to like design it, get it approved, get it into production, and you only have a month to do it. So if you didn't decide on it already, chances are you can't make it happen. But if you don't do it for this movie, you got to do it for the second one at least. I don't know. But the Galactus head, the Herbie one, which not only holds your popcorn, but also the drink and a snack for Fantastic Four, that is baller. Even the one with the Fantastic Car, which doesn't fit a ton of popcorn, but it's pretty cool because like the whole thing opens up. Whereas Superman, I think you talked about it with John on Friday, right?
Yes,
it's not as impressive, I don't think, by comparison.
It's not. They had one in Canada that was cool, but we don't have it. So
yeah, the Red Hulk popcorn. You know what, Raya? That's a good point too. I'm hydrating, and this is officially out, so I'll have to go get something else. But exactly, Enterprising. James Gunn has been pretty consistent about who is in the film and who is not. He's not been lying to us in any way. He's been pretty transparent about it. So I don't think that's going to change right now. And Chris, to address the CGI thing, everything you've been seeing so far, like some of those shots might not be finished. Like the trailer, studio, whoever's editing the trailers alongside James Gunn, they might have some unfinished effects shots. Like we have seen from the teaser trailer to the full trailer, they changed the cape in some of the shots. Like they've changed if Superman flinches or not when he gets hit with a soup can in the head. So those changes will probably, the smaller minor tweaks and newer passes on the CGI will continue to happen. Now that they've officially locked the picture cut and they're done with post-production as of last Thursday, according to James Gunn, the next trailer, the CGI in that one, you can probably judge as like the CGI you're going to see in the movie. But again, it's only going to be like a 2-3 minute long trailer. So that's not going to give you any measure of accuracy to what the CGI throughout a 2-hour-long movie is going to be, right? So it's going to come down to when the movie comes out and we can judge it on its own merits. And I think that's what it comes down to. And hello, the Dead Man. Welcome to the program. We love to have you here. And I don't know if I said hello to you in the chat before, but there you go. And we are glad that you were a part of the community. Everybody, if you're watching and if you're new, of course, do your big one. Hit the like button for us. We appreciate it. It's one little click for you guys. It helps us out a lot. Brings more people into the community. And if you are new, we do this 5 days a week. We're here Monday through Friday, talking for 2+ hours. Like, Bridget is used to it now. John is here usually. Liz will be here on Friday. I'm here all the time, so we love talking about it. And if you support us like Glimmercast is doing with a super chat, we love you even more, because that is, of course, always appreciated that you're willing to support us at that level. And all of that money gets put right back into the channel so we can make the show better. We can bring in more people onto the show, like Bridget, for example, right? Like Bridget has been on the show now for a couple of years. So thank you. The Glimmercast Raya saying, great discussion as always. And we're not done yet because, of course, we have a few more things here on the chart. Of course, earlier, you guys were talking about how that ad spot looked fantastic. Well, here it is. This is from the Chinese marketing for the show. And of course, Threads is doing that thing again. So I'm going to have to refresh the page. Gosh darn it, Threads. I blame Mark Zuckerberg for this. But anyway, this looks nice. They have a few new shots in here. Like you look at that here. We haven't seen that before. That's an extended version of the shot where he saves the girl. This is the whole like, you're a loser. No, you're a loser. I love that sequence. The Hammer of Baravia. I love any bit of the Fortress of Solitude I can get my hands on. That footage looks amazing. I like the design of it. I'm warming up to it. That winning smile of Superman when he saves a civilian. Bridget, what do you think about this? Like this new ad spot, you get a lot of the characters. You get Michaela Hoover in there as Cat Grant. You get Lois Lane. A lot of shots of Superman flying that we haven't seen before. Did you like what you saw? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's like a whole new side of.
I just realized he suplexes Ultraman. Sorry, go ahead. I'm excited. Go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's like, no, I like this. It's just, yeah, we haven't seen before yet. Giving us a little more scoop. It's getting me more excited. That's for sure.
Yeah. And again, this is, we see new footage usually in international TV spots, and this is the Chinese one.
Right.
So they aired this. I think
They're
there was a version out there
their
floating-
market.
Yeah, from like Beidou, which is like their version of YouTube. So I've seen it with like watermark, but this is just like with the Chinese subtitles and the name of the movie in Chinese at the top. So yeah, Bane will break you. Oh man, Soup giving that dude a body slam. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? We saw some of that in the behind the scenes footage from last year. So we've definitely seen some of this stuff, but now we're seeing how it looks in the movie. It looks like they definitely have done some CGI body doubles and replacements. So like this is not all David Cornsweet for reels, but it's probably a mixture of both both the shot practically and a little bit of CGI. That set of shots right there where he's floating in the air, and then when he's suplexing Ultraman, it's definitely something we haven't seen before. So yeah, he suplexes him. Exactly.
Yeah,
I love it. It's kind of a nod to the CW Superman. Is it, Chris? I don't know. I laugh every time I see Crypto biting his boots. Yep. Yeah, and then there was another sequence of that we got a bit more of from the other ad spot on the NBA Finals, where you see him was like, dude, stop grabbing me. It's like Crypto's just being, the goodest boy, or not the goodest boy. He's just being a doggy. He's just. I love that Crypto is not like some talking Scooby-Doo kind of dog. Like, sure, he can fly maybe, and he's got super strength, and he's got a cape, but he's still a dog. Like, so I love it. I love to see that.
Yes.
Also love to see more of the engineer. Bridget, you saw the character posters, right? The engineer character poster with that whole hand out, like it's wild. And then that whole intro, what she said about like the backstory in her mind about Lex Luthor. That was kind of insane. You know what? I actually have the clip. Let's watch it back because it's amazing. I just love how Maria Gabriela de Faria thought that. I mean, she said it, she told it to James Gunn, and James was like, yeah, sure, run with it. That's the motivation. Just go with it. Like, it's just, I'm like, great. I want to see an engineer Lex Luthor rated R movie.
Okay, so I told James that probably she had some trauma when she was a kid, that she felt the need to be part of that change, whatever that means, and whatever she had to do to make it happen. But then I also think that they have a secret relationship, and I kept telling James, like, I feel like they and like Lex is so, he's so serious, and then he has this gorgeous girlfriend that he treats terribly. So I'm like, what if, like, after hours, engineer gets really mean with Lex and he loves it?
Wow.
I mean, baddie alert indeed. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I love process. I love the personality. I love Maria Gabriela de Faria. Like, it's just like that's what was on her mind. She's like, yeah, Lex is a bit of what is the word? He's a bit of a sadist, I guess. Is that the word? I don't know. I guess that means at least he might be. Yeah, whatever the word is. But it's hilarious. I don't know if you guys missed that, but that was from the latest episode of the DC Studios Showcase podcast. It's amazing. I kind of edited it together, so you have to watch the whole interview to get the pieces, but it's great. I love it. They had her on the show this week or last week, and they also had Eddie Gattegi playing the Mr. Terrific character. So, and yeah, Jalen Harris pointing out. I mean, look at this shot. You can see that Superman there's animated clearly, and even Ultraman. But again, I think Jalen Harris pointing out the reason why the CGI and VFX look odd sometimes is because it's the brighter lighting and it's not hiding some of the CGI VFX so it's going to be harder to pull off, because when you do this in darker sequences, it's easier to hide some of the imperfections. But then also, I think some of these sequences, you're not looking at the finished shots. What you will see in the movie hopefully will be better. Again, if it's not better, then, we can look at it and say, yeah, you know what? Some of the CGI was kind of dodgy. And what movie doesn't have that? Nowadays, a lot of movies have this problem. So it won't be anything unique to Superman. But yeah, I mean, even Avengers movies that have made billions of dollars have some dodgy CGI sequences. So it will just come down to, again, once the movie comes out, if the CGI is as bad as The Flash, I'm sure people will notice. But if it's not, then, it's not something we should be just looking for and go out of our way. Just go enjoy the movie. If the CGI takes you out of it, that's one thing. But I wouldn't ruin my experience just because, I'm looking for the
to analyze and find.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
By the way, Swag fan, yeah, he saw the episode, The Engineer and Lex. I bet that's a freaking time. Yeah, exactly. Well, according to Maria Gabriela de Fria, I don't know if Nicholas Holt knows about this. I'm sure he was told at some point. They had a conversation. And so maybe they play into that. I don't know. Like, that will be very, very interesting. It certainly tells you a lot about maybe the chemistry and the dynamic between the two of them.
Yeah.
Maybe that means that Lex's girlfriend is not long for this role. Maybe Miss Tessmacher might get offed by the Engineer at some point. Maybe there's something going on in there. She is wild. It's great. I would love to see what that turns into in the movie. And I'm sure James Gunn's not a stranger to like having something like that happen, and that kind of a subplot in his movies. So it would be fun. It would be fun. I mean, Chris, come on now. Like, let's be positive. Like if the movie is terrible, then we will all say it. I know, but until then, exactly, Ray J. I mean, all the Guardians movies had pretty great CGI. Like Rocket Raccoon was entirely CGI. Groot, it could have looked terrible at any given point in time, and they had body doubles for a lot of those sequences when they're flying in space and stuff. CGI has never been an issue. They've also had a ton of time to work on it. Like James Gunn gave this movie a long runway in post-production. So
I think it's only fair until we see the movie, then we can really say, the CGI was crap. But until then, it's just hard to know.
Exactly. I mean, and also all the goofy fisheye lenses, that's a choice. That's a cinematography choice. It's definitely you can see this movie, the way that they're filming a lot of things. There's a lot of center framing shots, and it's meant to kind of like give you that sense of scale, but also brings you in close. It's a cinematic choice, right? Like, this is not the way Zack Snyder shot his movies. This may not be maybe like the way that Christopher Nolan shoots his movies, but this is certainly the way James Gunn has done some of his work. It's not the first time. So, and if it becomes too much, like it's like, in Zack Snyder movie, there's too many slow-mo shots. If there's too many fisheye angle shots, and then the lens is just really wide, and people think it's distracting from the experience, then I'm sure we'll be discussing it in a few weeks' time. So, I mean, and if you don't have to be a fan of the cinematography to enjoy the movie, there's plenty of movies out there where the cinematography was not anything remarkable, but the movie was fantastic. I think ultimately you could have the best cinematography in the world. Like, that's the thing. Zack Snyder's cinematography is amazing. His movies aren't always the best because the story isn't there. If you can't, keep up with the characters, if you can't fall in love with the characters and really root for them, it doesn't matter how good the cinematography is. What I will say about this shot, though, Bridget, it looks like those robots are all wiped out. I don't know if they leave any behind. It looks like they take out all the robots. I don't know if any of those robots are surviving this movie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we saw, like, speaking of great CGI, like the robots were built for real, but they also have a lot of the robots like animated in many of the sequences. So yeah. I mean, even the Thunderbolt CGI was not good, but at the end it was still a good movie. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You will always have imperfection. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of with anything. You can look back at movies that you loved and look back and like, oh God, the CGI, the animation was terrible, but it's the story that makes it worth watching again.
Exactly. And look, Chris is just saying he loves Superman. He just has some criticism, and the whole reason why he's here, he's still hopeful. And you know what? That's all we can ask for. You're hopeful that the story is good, and then even if you don't like the CGI, the cinematography, the story will bring you along for the ride. Which, you know what? That's all we can ask for. So that's where we'll leave that for now. But before we get into the tickets information, which we'll wrap up on that. The Dead Man leaving us a super chat. Thank you, Dead Man. We really appreciate you supporting us on the channel. Again, like I said, it all goes back into making the show better, and we really appreciate that. And he says, he, she, or they say, to me, it reminds me of a mix between the animated series, Superman the Animated Series, the All-Star Superman, and Superman for all seasons. Yeah, you know what? That is very much the look of this movie. John and I have talked about it for a year. Like, this very much has that inspiration. James Gunn has said that that's his inspiration for the movie. All-Star Superman is a big one. Superman for all seasons. At one point, he posted images and even the comics you can go and read to prepare for what you're expecting to get in this movie. The animated series was one of them as well. So I definitely agree with you. In fact, I actually went and bought All-Star Superman last year to read it just because James Gunn said that's one of his inspirations. So I'm looking forward to finishing that. Superman for all seasons. I have both of those in my collection now. I love the animated series. And like Raya saying, everybody hit the like button. We do appreciate that. I know there's a lot of you watching, a lot of new names and faces each and every day. So we appreciate if you guys hit the like button. It helps us out a lot. And absolutely, this movie has some of the best references and inspirations that any Superman filmmaker should have. And you could tell just from whether it's Clark Kent and how he looks completely different from our Superman. And, you've got some just comic book looking sequences, it's like, it's bright. It has color, as John said, likes to say.
Just the color.
Love to see it. Love to see it. Jalen saying, I need June to get out of my way now. Dang it, I wanted July already. Let's get to 1 million subs, guys. You know what, Jalen? That's the kind of
that's the attitude we need.
That's the kind of comment. Yes, we will get to that 1 million number. Now that the DCU is on its way, DCU Daily is going to be a part of the story. That's the plan. That's that's the goal. Let's call it a goal. I think that's the way to go about it. But you know what? The big main event of the day today, or I guess when they started the show was yesterday. So the big main event of the show is the Prime premiere screening of Superman, the early access screening. Now, earlier on when Raya first popped in the chat, she mentioned some details. So let's dive into it, shall we? So, of course, we know that the early access screening is going to be on July 8th. We now know it's on at 7 p.m., which is pretty normal, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I think most of these early screenings tend to take place at that time. It's not too early, it's not too late. And so that's pretty good that we know that's the time. But we also now know that not only are we going to get the early screening on July 8th at 7 p.m., the tickets are going on sale tomorrow, which is now today. And we actually even knew that before, but what we didn't know is that time. So 9 a.m. Pacific time, as you see on the Superman account, they're posting in one of the comments. And then the Glimmercast, she mentioned it earlier, I said 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. I know I'm on the East Coast, so I'm going to be up probably well before noon. But noon, the tickets go on sale. Now, again, as it says on the screen there, as the poster says, this is a Prime premiere, so this is only for Amazon Prime members. You can get yourself an early screening. They're going to be selling tickets through Prime. I think this is being done through Fandango, so you might get redirected from there to Fandango. I know a lot of you guys are excited for this. Bridget, are you a Prime member? Are you going to be able to take part in this? Will you be able to go see the movie early on July 8th?
I might be able to. My dad has a Prime membership that we all use. So I could probably log in, and I didn't even know this was happening. So I'm like, great. Yes, this is exciting. Maybe I will. If I can get one. If they don't sell out.
I mean, you know what? I'm going to be doing it because I've got, again, this is not a brag. I feel like if John was here, it's like, thank you, Dan, for the humble brag. I have 2 Amazon Prime accounts because I have one for my personal, then one for the podcast, like a business Prime account. So, we have like for Amazon Prime, we get to watch a TV show or a movie, but then also, of course, I have Prime in general. So I'm like, I'm going to log in from both, and I might get myself a few different, sets of tickets. So, yeah. And you know what, Bridget, if you need help, we can get you tickets from the Also Curious Prime account. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, Bane can't wait to get his tickets. Well, Steven, Steven, I don't know where you live. That's the thing. I mean, Bridget is usually out on the West Coast, and John is on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you are, Steven, but if you want to go to the premiere with us, you got to let us. I mean, I think Liz is trying to figure out if she can meet up with Manos in France when she goes over there and hang out with him. So, we would welcome the opportunity. We just don't know where you live. So I'm not saying dox yourself on the internet, but we'll I'm sure we'll all get to go see the movie when the time comes. Ray saying got Prime just for this. I'm gonna cancel it right after. Did you pay like the full price? Wasn't it like $150? Like it's like you did you pay for the full year? That's kind of crazy, man.
The trial. I don't know if they still do trials, but yeah.
But you know what? I do feel like that's one of the reasons why they probably do this, because they, it gets people to sign up, and then once they're signed up, they're like, oh my god, there's a million other things. Like they don't leave it, but
that's
one of the
true.
reasons why.
Yeah, and you want to be one of the first ones to watch because people are gonna talk.
Absolutely. That's the reason why people go to the early screenings. By the way, the Dead Man earlier was pointing out the color makes a huge difference, and I still like Man of Steel. I 100% agree with you. I love Man of Steel, best Superman movie ever made, at least until this movie comes out. We'll see. But there's a lot more color in this Superman movie than there was in Man of Steel. Like, literally, sometimes I look at the movie, I'm like, I don't know. Did my brain fill it in with more color in hindsight? Because every time I watch Man of Steel once or twice a year. So, anywho, I digress. Jalen is gonna wait till July 11th to go see it with his friends just to avoid the internet, and he's gonna avoid the internet and YouTube for 3 days. You mean you're not gonna watch the show? I mean, it's fair. We're gonna probably spoil it for you if you do, so like that's fair. But you know what, Jalen,
you gotta
miss
do.
you for those couple of days. It's okay. We'll see you back on July 11th when you go see the movie. I am on the East Coast, Steven. Yes, I am. I am on the East Coast, as is John. So we are here in the US, so it's like 1:30 a.m. right now for us. So we're gonna get into wrapping up the show soon. But of course, would root for Superman. He broke the other guy's back. What is that in reference to? I don't know. You're talking about maybe the fight with Ultraman. Ray J saying, "Hell no, the month student account is like it." Oh, okay. So you got the student account, $8 a month. All right, Ray J, that's fair. That's fair. That's a good deal.
Nice.
I don't qualify for that anymore, unfortunately. I don't know if my university email still works. So I don't know. I pay for the
for a while.
Yeah. What do you?
I was using
gonna say?
I used my old school email account for a while. It was kind of nice, even when I graduated. Anyway, you can get it.
Yeah. I'm not trying to spoil the movie. I didn't say. I thought you were saying something about the Ultraman situation. Don't blame me. I don't know what happens in the movie. Oh, come on, Pacerland. All right, okay. Well, that's okay. We'll know why nobody's watching the show for those couple of days because they'll be avoiding the spoilers. What we will do most likely is we won't spoil. We will do like we will upload a separate review that specifically says it's a spoiler review, an early reaction review, and then we'll wait to do like a proper one on the show until like later in the week. So don't you worry. John and Liz are very, very adamant that we don't spoil the experience for everybody. So we'll probably do like an out of theater reaction when we go see the movie on July 8th. Then we'll do a non-spoiler review early in the week. So you can, if you guys are, still on the fence, you can watch the non-spoiler review and then figure out if you based on what we say, if you still want to go see the movie. I'm guessing it's not going to change your mind, but at least you will know more what to expect. And then when we get to Friday, the 11th, we will do a full spoiler review that evening's show. So that way, by that time, hopefully you've seen the film. And if you haven't, then you can come back and check us out on Monday. Yeah, I mean, Bridget, do you think as a fan of the movies, you like getting spoiled? Like, are you somebody who avoids them like the rabies, or do you not care?
I mean, yeah, if it's something I'm really interested in, yeah, like this, I probably wouldn't. I would be like, shut up if anyone mentions it. So I get that. I mean, you want to experience it for yourself, and you don't want to think the whole time about, oh yeah, and my mom said her favorite part was when that thing happens. Like, you want to just have a fresh experience. Like, I get that. So yeah, and of course, but I think you guys are really good about. I know John too is like, no spoilers. We're not going to talk about this when those movie reviews happen.
Yep. Yeah. He's telling me to go back to school to get the discount. That's a very expensive discount if I'm going back to school just to get a discount to the. I think there's other ways I can get around that. You know what I mean? But no, it's fair. I mean, I, for one, in general, I'm okay with spoilers in most cases, but there are some exceptions. So I think for this movie, I would not want it to be spoiled. I definitely don't want it to be spoiled. But there's some movies where if I'm not a big hardcore fan, like, when The Force Awakens came out, I had the whole Harrison Ford spoiler from what happens to for what happens to Han Solo at the end of the movie. That I had that spoiled for me, but at the time I wasn't as big of a Star Wars fan as I am today. I still prefer Star Trek and Stargate and a few of the other ones, but Andor really changed my mind. Rogue One really changed my mind. I think I have a different perspective on the original movies now because of those prequels. But as far as like the sequels, they were up and down. I mean, and the George Lucas prequels were definitely crazy on the bad side. But still, I have more of an appreciation for Star Wars as a franchise. So now if I want, I wouldn't want, like, I did not want Andor spoiled for me at all. Like, I was trying to avoid that,
You're invested.
spoiler train. So I mean, for Superman, I'll be the same. For Batman movie, I'll be the same. But like, there's some things where I'm like, okay, I don't really care. Give me the spoiler.
Yeah.
Really, you had Endgame spoiled for you, Ray J? What part of Endgame did you have spoiled for you? I wonder if it was like the final sequence or one of the, the character moments. Like, what did you was it what happens at the end with Tony Stark or Chris Evans, Captain America? Like, what was it that was spoiled for you?
Imagine it might have been that.
Yeah, I am Iron Man. Like, imagine like that was the big moment of the movie. Like, if you had that's unfortunate, dude. But it's everybody in the world went and saw that movie opening weekend, so it was kind of hard to hide from spoilers. But yeah, it will happen eventually. I mean, it's inevitable depending on if you have people around you who go to see the movie and you see them at work, or you overhear somebody talking about it from across the room. Like, you can't really prevent that, right? Like, it's
earplugs.
It's hard. Yeah. But you can't wear earplugs all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you might just hear it, overhear it, and like, oh god, like it's spoiled for me now.
I know. When you just are like,
yeah. Maybe just lock yourself in a closet for 3 days. If you can't get to see the movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, Ray J is talking about. Oh yeah, okay. He was in high school and somebody just wrote Iron Man on the board with no context. But I don't know if how did that spoil? Iron Man was in the movie. Like, how is that a spoiler? Like, Iron Man was in the movie. I don't know if that anyway. Maybe, or did they say I am Iron Man and with like a snap kind of a, I don't know. Like, it was that. Give us more details. I can't tell what you mean there. Anywho, I think we're basically at the end of the show for today. I just want to highlight again, Raya with the Glimmercast with the super chat earlier saying great discussion as always. We appreciate the super chat. The Dead Man also with the super chat saying, to me it reminds me of a mix between the animated series All-Star Superman and Superman for All Seasons does the Superman movie. So we appreciate you guys. Oh, everyone knew what it meant. Okay, Ray J, I get it. Killen Brown saying, what is this video actually about? What is this video actually about, Killen? Well, it's about a lot of different things. It's about existential philosophies and movies and TV shows, and sometimes we talk about Superman, sometimes we talk about Marvel stuff. Earlier we were talking about Warner Brothers Discovery. What else did we talk about today? We talked about The Legend of Zelda, moving its
Harry Potter castings.
Harry Potter castings, ballerinas, box office. You guys in the chat let Killen Brown
News
know
of the
what
world.
this video is actually about. We talk about all the Superman stuff. If you be kind and rewind, as they say, you will see we've been talking about Superman for the past hour. Before that, we were talking about everything else in Hollywood. So there you go. But Killen Brown, thank you for joining in. Swag Fan dropping in the super chat right at the end. Great show, guys. We appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for supporting us on the show. And thank you to everybody for watching. Yeah, Jalen, did we talk about Chicken Jockey? I think you guys did in the chat. We didn't really talk about it on the show. Yes, it's
in your own world.
News, commentary, and civil disputes. Yeah, especially when John is here. He gets into civil disputes with everybody on the show. So I can't wait for him to be back on the show tomorrow. But Bridget, as always, it's been a pleasure. Great show as always, as Swag Fan said. And thank you to you, Bridget. And thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys make it all that more fun. It's so much more fun.
You make it the party that it was. We appreciate that.
Like Bridget said at the beginning, it was going to be a party, and indeed it was a party. And we got a lot of new, names in the chat. So hello, Killen. And yeah, Enterprising, we will see you guys tomorrow. With that, I should wrap things up here. So let me switch out the graphic as we always do. Hit subscribe if you're new, because we do this Monday through Friday, DCU Daily. You can come back here for the latest updates from the world of DC. We also usually touch upon other things going on, whether it's, a Marvel movie, whether it's just a Harry Potter casting for the new TV show. So if you hit the like button, that will hopefully, bring this in front of more people like yourself. If you are subscribed, then hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. It's usually later in the day on East Coast time, around like 10 p.m. or so. Sometimes we go a little bit earlier. But yeah, it's been another fantastic show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. There's always hope, like Enterprise is saying. Just look up. And with that, Bridget, we'll see you tomorrow. Or I don't know if we'll see you. We'll see you back later in the week, maybe. But we will see John and myself tomorrow, and then Liz on Friday. And then Bridget, we'll see you back soon on another episode of DCU Daily.
Sounds good.